Can you remain standing to observe a moment of silence and prayer? Thank you. Thank you. You may sit. Oh, Tim is now putting the handbag here instead of there. What's wrong with this thing? Morning, colleagues. As I was preparing myself this morning, I knew that Mkwebo will get carried away the way I look today. No, you don't have an extra member. The green will be next tomorrow. Morning, colleagues. Honorable members, let's start with the business of the day. Motion without notice. We don't have a motion without notice? No, we don't have. We've got this one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sure. Oh, announcements first, yes. Before we get to that, apologies, colleagues. Do we have any announcements from the House? We do not. We've got apologies from the Premier who's attending an investment conference, an apology from Member Modise who's attending classes, apology from members Munisi and Mufama due to ill health. Thank you. Is this one? Yes. That will be the last one, yeah. Okay. We have got member statements in terms of Rule 8.1.1 from Member Engelbrecht, Member Kekana, and Member Litwaba. In that order, Member Engelbrecht, is she in the House?
Deputy Speaker, oh, there, I've got sound. Thank you. Deputy Speaker, I cannot reiterate my concern strongly enough for the 72 residents of Twelipele who are going to be moved on the 31st of March when the facility closes its doors. To date, neither the residents nor the families have received any formal or any written communication from the department as to the reasons of its closure or where exactly their loved ones are going. This, Deputy Speaker, is appalling and reiterates why this department, which is supposed to look after the most vulnerable members of our society, treating them with compassion and care, is indicative of a callous and indifferent department. Under the watch of Premier Makuru, we saw the tragedy and death unfold in the form of the Life Esidimeni saga. It happened because of the indifference to life. The attitude by the department towards the residents of Twelipele is no different. History cannot repeat itself. The residents of Twelipele need to be treated with the dignity they deserve and give all respected parties the answers they so desperately need. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member Kekana, is she in the House or she's virtual?
I'm here, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Virtual.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. In accordance with Rule 81, subsection 1, I, Honourable Rufileke, hereby tables the following member statement on the violation of the rights of women. Madam Speaker, the month of March is dedicated to human rights in South Africa. And we cannot talk about human rights without highlighting the role of women in the liberation of this country. Women were at the forefront of our liberation struggle, including the women of 1956, who united and marched to the union buildings in Pretoria in protest against the imposition of the notorious past laws of African women. We equally cannot talk about human rights without decrying the scourge of gender-based violence. Femicide in our country has reached alarming levels that it has become a threat to the very human rights that we commemorate in the month of March. Our nation can never be truly free and enjoy its freedom when its women and children are raped and killed. The brutality against women and children is clouding all the good things that our government has achieved and unraveling all the efforts of creating a better South Africa for all. We do sound like a broken record now, Madam Speaker, but we will not keep quiet until such time that the perpetrators of violence against women and children stop. Just 2 days ago, a 31-year-old Itumeleng Beverly Makura was found dead under her boyfriend's bed, while her 11-year-old daughter's body was found on top of the same bed in Nelmapias, Pretoria. Many women before her have died in the hands of men who should have protected them. And sadly, many after this will still die from the same fate. The women of 1956 laid a foundation for us and showed us that it is possible to unite, irrespective of our differences. My call to this August House, Madam Deputy Speaker, today is for us to unite against gender-based violence, race and political divide, and together fight against the scourge of femicide. I thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. With all protocols observed, we have noted the protest action by the e-hailing drivers across the country who down tools and shut down their apps for 3 days. We have also noted with serious concern the reluctance of this ANC government in addressing their demands. It should further be noted that this industrial action has had a negative impact on the economy because most people are now relying on this mode of transport to reach their different work destinations. They have been inconvenienced by the government, it must take full responsibility. Their concerns and demands are well documented, and the government can no longer turn a blind eye to these genuine and legitimate demands. We have in the past witnessed violent conflicts between e-hailing drivers and meter taxis in this province, which led to fatalities, and the Department of Roads and Transport was reluctant to solve their problems. Speaker or Deputy Speaker, we have for many years called on the government to regulate the public transport sector, including taxis. However, when it comes to the e-hailing drivers, this government must be seen to be proactive rather than reactive. It can never be correct that our own black drivers operating these e-hailing services are left on their own and suffer exploitations at the hands of foreign app companies like Uber and Bolt. The e-hailing drivers are not asking for much from you, the ANC government. They are not asking to be subsidized, at least for now. All they are asking for is that their industry be regulated. Since last year, the e-hailing drivers had been protesting exploitation and unregulated prices that are not imposed on them by these foreign app companies. They have been fighting against their safety, security, and the high commissions deducted from drivers' wages. It must be noted that e-hailing drivers are complaining that they are faced with low ride fares, petrol hikes almost every month, loss of their vehicles due to payment issues, as well as hijackings and robberies. Our so-called communist MEC for roads and transport in this province, instead of being on the side of the downtrodden and exploited workers, decided on Monday only to try to avert the strike and protect the monopoly capitalists instead of lobbying his national counterparts to urge the President to speedily sign the National Transport Amendment Bill of 2016 that will ensure the protection of exploited e-hailing drivers and regulate the industry. By appointing a mediator is a short-term solution. This problem has been going on for long and needs decisive government intervention. We need to know these foreign apps companies are registered and regulated in this country. For the MEC to appeal to e-hailing drivers not to resort to measures that will cause instability to the transport sector. It's a futile exercise because there is instability already because of lack of leadership. The MEC must be reminded that this is a historical problem. E-hailing drivers had been marching to the department, negotiations were conducted, but nothing ever came out of those futile exercises. We once more call on our government to act and regulate the e-hailing industry because this lack of regulation enables the exploitation of our black people by these foreign app companies. PRASA was collapsed. Gauteng rider system is low. The textile industry is not subsidized. The buses are no longer subsidized. The only hope that we had was at least this was enabling us to activate the economy of our province. I thank you.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was supposed to present the motion, but I think there's still some political work that needs to be done around the motion. We would be in a position to can present the motion even in the sitting of tomorrow after that particular consultation. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
That's accepted, Honorable Chief Whip. We're moving on with our business of the day. First item, Secretary, please read the first order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Education Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Department of Education for the 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honorable Chilwane.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The committee noted the department's Q3 report and its commitments towards the implementation of the 2021-22 financial year goals. Key highlights from the quarter under review include the successful placement of more than 123,752 grade 1 and grade 8 learners since the opening of the online application for the 2022 academic year. Capacity training for school governing body members, wherein 10,000 newly elected SGB members were capacitated. The department focused on conducting school readiness, verification, and ensuring systems were ready for learning and teaching during the welcoming back of learners in grade R to 7. Under Program 1, in the quarter under review, the department partnered with ICT and eGov department and successfully created a database where unemployed educators can register for consideration by the school principals and SGBs. 1,070 Funza Lishaka graduates were allocated to Gauteng for placement for the 2021 academic year. This translated into 694 placements. There is an ongoing process to place the remaining graduates into vacant posts. Presentation and forms on reasonable accommodation, gender sensitization, as well as disability disclosure were forwarded to schools after workshops were conducted. Under Program 2, the committee noted there are currently 1,407 no-fee schools with 1.5 million learners enrolled as per the statistics for the reporting period. In addition, scholar transport is being provided to 167,536 learners as part of the transport program, and 1.5 million 998,000 learners had access to school nutrition program. In terms of teacher development and support, 315 senior phase teachers were trained on African languages, content, methodologies, as well as assessment practices in its effort to improve learner performance. Foundation phase tasks were internally monitored at school level in an effort to determine the extent to which the desired outcome of assessment will be reached. Additionally, information sharing meetings platform, while workshops were conducted on different language methodologies, sharing best practices by conducting demonstration learners as and when the need arises. With regard to schools of specialization, the department identifies 6 schools, one in the Eastern Corridor, Tutoke Matla, with a focus on engineering, Southern Corridor, Dr. Mulifi Oliphant, with a focus on math, science, and ICT, Tuto Tiro, with a focus on engineering, and Jet Nteo, with focus on commerce and entrepreneurship. In the Northern Corridor, Nkangala, with a focus on engineering, Holy Trinity, with a focus on math, science, and ICT. Under Program 3, and in the period under review, 1,208 written and telephonic queries for home education application were registered. To register new independent schools planned to begin operating from January 2022 were received. The department further reported post-registration visits conducted in 120 sites, and recommendations were made on how schools could improve their compliance status. The committee noted that the department identified 25 independent schools in the database that were operating illegally, and all these schools were issued with letters of closure. Under Program 4, special schools were supported to improve access in schools with emphasis on minimizing overcrowded classes, improving the implementation of differentiated gaps, improving the implementation of target-oriented curriculum, improving the image of schools or business plans submitted by schools outlining how additional funding have been used to improve learner access. Under Program 5, the committee noted under the quarterly review, general education and training curriculum, grade R teacher development, e-learning, and knowledge management continue to be supported in this program. On-site support visits were conducted in Johannesburg Central, Johannesburg East, Gauteng Central, Gauteng East, Gauteng North, Gauteng South, and Tshwane West District. In regard to human resource development, the department trained 180 foundation phase DSA and department heads in preparation for training of grade R practitioners, and the first orientation of grade R teachers was held in preparation for the commencement of monthly training that was planned to commence in January 2022. Under Program 6, the department indicated that all newly built administrative blocks were provided with all facilities that are required in line with appropriate norms and standards of school buildings. The department reported that a total of 571 classrooms in 89 public ordinary schools were refurbished. These include grade 9 to 11 classrooms. Furthermore, the committee noted the department report that all new special schools were reported with facilities as per the norms and standards for school infrastructure, and additional grade R classrooms were built in newly built primary schools and were provided to existing primary schools that where there is a need. Under Program 7, in the third quarter, a total of 702 learners were provided with counseling support during the review of the master skills plan. The department, through the Gauteng City Region Academy, identified some improvement that could be made to the design and delivery methodology. Can the areas that I will not be reading be considered as read? I'll go straight to concerns and recommendation. Firstly, the committee noted there is a 74% placement success rate of Funza Leshaka graduates, and plans are in process to place the remaining graduates and request a report made on the progress made towards increased placement of Funza Leshaka graduates. The committee is concerned that there is unsatisfactory buy-in from districts in terms of usage of the unemployed educator database. The committee welcomes the training and encouraging of principals to utilize the unemployed educator database and request an updated report on the usage of the database. The committee welcomes the planned monthly training of grade R educators and request a report on the progress and impact of the training. The committee noted the department's plan to address infrastructure challenges at Lotus Gardens Secondary School, but is concerned that there have been incidences where members of the community have harassed the principal and interfere in the running of the school. The committee is concerned about the incidents of school violence, such as in Davidton, where a learner was murdered at Legislature Secondary School, as well as the murder of a pupil at Tsakani Secondary School. With regards to the department's achievements with respect to township economy, SMME, local procurement for the period under review, the committee noted the department spend 1.2 billion in the various corridors. However, request a breakdown of the expenditure of each corridor. The committee is also concerned that the department may not spend its entire budget allocation by the end of the financial year, and is of the view that underspending of just 2% translates approximately into 1 billion, which could be used to provide the necessary resources to schools. Under recommendation, the department should provide a progress report towards increased placement of Funza Lushaka graduates. The department to put measures in place to encourage increased usage of unemployment and of the unemployed educator database by districts. The department to provide an updated report of usage by principals of the unemployed educator database. The department to provide a report on the progress and impact of the monthly training of grade R educators. The department should provide an increased support to the principal of Lotus Guidance Secondary School who has experienced harassment, interference in school matters by community members. The department should strengthen existing mechanisms such as security infrastructure, search and seizure by policing hotspots, linkages with police stations, implementation of school safety plan, and placement of patrollers or security guard at school, as well as put additional measures in place to address incidences of violence. All this, the department to provide a breakdown of the expenditure with respect to township economy, SMME, and local procurement for each corridor. The department to deepen implementation measures to ensure that the total allocation is effectively utilized by the end of the financial year. All these should be responded through a written response by the 29th of April 2022. The Portfolio Committee on Education wishes to thank the MEC, Honorable Yusufi, and his senior official for the presentation of the third quarterly report and sustained efforts they've made to inform the Portfolio Committee of the details of the quarterly report. Furthermore, the Chair would like to thank the Honorable Portfolio Committee members, Honorable Hassan, Honorable Makubela, Honorable Mpisi, Honorable Ramulifo, Honorable Dos Santos, Honorable Mukwebo, Honorable Mazwi, Honorable Duval Alberts, and Honorable Adams for their dedication support during this process. Furthermore, I would like to thank the leadership, the group's committee coordinator, Ms. Zumpan, senior researcher, Senior Sekina Enweli, and Senior Committee Shalingaya, and the team is outlined in terms of Rule 117 to C, read with Rule 164. The Education Portfolio Committee hereby recommends that the report on the Gauteng Department of Education quarterly report for the 2021-22 financial year be adopted by the House. Taking into account committee consent.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time has expired.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It was a long report.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I move to second.
Okay, there are two seconders. Now I now put the question. All those who agree say yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Those who do not agree say no. The yes have it. Thank you. Second order. Secretary, please read the second order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Sports, Recreation, Arts, Culture Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation for the 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Matheke.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. On behalf of the Portfolio Committee, I will be tabling the third quarterly report of the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation for the year 2021-2022 financial year as follows. Acting Speaker, may I request the part of the report that I will not be reading be considered as read by the hybrid sitting. I will focus on the executive summary on concerns, recommendations, acknowledgement and adoption. In terms of this quarter, the department was allocated a budget of 197,173,000 and they spent 159,723,000, which represent 81%, which is a slight decrease from the previous quarter and underspending by 19%. The department has set 96 targets for the quarter under review, and of this, 59, which represents 61%, was achieved. The Portfolio Committee is concerned that there is a continuing trend of acting senior management
within the department, following the departure of the former head of the department, and now they have an acting HOD. In response to the committee's concern, the department cited that they have prioritized the appointment of senior management positions to help alleviate the service delivery challenges that they have experienced in the previous quarters. The position of the Chief Director Corporate Services is currently being processed, with the incumbent expected to commence employment before the end of this current financial year. The department has been having internal processes challenges, and most of them stemming from the supply chain management and finance areas. And they are currently focusing on increasing capacity within the finance department, and the position of Chief Financial Officer will be prioritized. There is an increased vacancy rate from 255 in the previous reporting period to 306 in this quarter under review, which reflects more than 50 new vacancies, which needs to be dealt with decisively by the department. It has a negative impact on the department performance. When considering the department's annual budget performance to date, the committee is concerned with whether the department will manage to spend the balance of its budget by the end of the current financial year, seeing that they only managed to spend 52.8% of their annual budget under the quarter review, having one quarter left in this financial year. However, the department noted that there is a lot of outstanding payments that needs to be made out of service providers on the work that has been rendered to the department, which will affect their spending to look better than currently reported. Further to this, the department is addressing internal supply management chain process that has affected the bottleneck through a circular that has been issued to address that situation. For the quarter under review, the Gauteng Film Commission, the agency of the department, was allocated a budget of 12,726,000 and 13,604,000 was spent, reflecting 107% expenditure. The service delivery targets which were set for the quarter under review as 26 and 20 were achieved. The GFC board is currently embarking on a process to appoint a CEO for the agency, and the committee will be observing that process, seeing that there is a newly appointed board with a new turnaround strategy for the agency. The committee noted that they got additional funding of 4.3 million from MIC-SETA for interns and bursaries, which is commendable and encouraged by the portfolio committee. On committee concerns, the committee is concerned that the increasing vacancy rate from 250 in the previous quarter to 306 posts in the quarter under review and the impact this has on service delivery. The delays in the procurement of laptops for the staff. The department planned to financially support 2 sports events during the quarter under review, and this was not achieved. On committee recommendations, the committee recommends the following: submit a plan with timeframes to address the increasing vacancy rate that has impacted service delivery negatively. Type of expected, it's a plan. Fast track the procurement of laptops for staff and provide a report. Type of expected is a report. Provide a status report on the 2 sports events that were not supported as planned, and type of expected is a report. All this should be submitted to the committee by the 31st of May 2022. On acknowledgement, I would like to acknowledge the MEC as well as the acting HOD of the department and all the senior officials. I will further want to appreciate the diligent deliberations of honorable members, E.B. Litswalo, M. Modise, Tin Glovu, M.S. Chabalala, P. Atkinson, W. Peach, R.B. Mnisi, A.T. Tangano, D.K. Adams, and D.N. Khadebe. The committee further want to thank the support staff led by the group committee coordinator, Mem Mbalo, senior committee researcher, Dr. Nenweli, committee coordinator, Ms. Sigubudu, committee researcher, Ms. Shikwane, committee administrator, Mr. Dabula, information officer, Mr. Kiwitz, communications officer, Mr. Dikola, public participation officer, Mr. Muhlala, senior Hansard recorder, Mr. Makwela, Hansard recorder, Mem Remi, and service officer, Mem Amabolo, for their role throughout the process. On adoption, after extensive deliberation, the Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation Committee adopted the 3rd quarter performance report on the Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation for 2021-2022 financial year in accordance with Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 164. The Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation Portfolio Committee tables the report to the House for consideration adoption, considering the concerns and proposed recommendations made in the report. I thank you, Acting Speaker.
Thank you, honourable members. Is there a seconder?
I rise to second, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Member Adams.
Member Adams, thank you. Those who agree with the adoption of the report say yes.
Yes.
Those who do not agree say no. Thank you. Report adopted. Secretary, will you please read the next order? That order.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Department of Economic Development for the 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I'm going to sit for some of these reports. It's a long day. You'll forgive me. The department realized 18 of 26 targets as compared to the 15 of 26 in the previous quarter. The performance remains unsatisfactory and in turn 113.22% was spent. There were increased indicators and targets noted during the 2021-2022 budget adjustment process and their additions on the revised APP, mainly to implement the Gauteng Township Economy Development Bill among other projects. The committee noted that GDED has spent 113.22% of its allocation, which represents an overspending for the quarter under review. This is attributed mainly to additional funds allocated by the Provincial Treasury during the adjustment period to fund operational costs and infrastructure at the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone. The overspending is on the Economic Planning Programme, which spent over 201.89% of its budget for the quarter. This is the programme responsible for funding the TASEZ, while there was poor spending on the administration and business regulation programmes. The latter is mostly affected at 51.12% of the budget spent for the quarter, and in turn at 41.41% on the year to date. Sadly, the reasons for the underspending remain the same as in the preceding quarters, including a high vacancy rate and procurement delays. The programs responsible for agencies have transferred 100%, but the agency spending is at 85% in the quarter under review. The quarter 3 performance of the departmental agencies and its subsidiaries is fairly satisfactory, as it realized 49 out of its planned 71 targets, thus translating into a 69% achievement. The performance shows a significant improvement when compared with the 46% realization in the second quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year. Pertaining to the performance of individual agencies, the GIDZ had the worst performance, as it realized none of its 2 planned targets, while spending 5.837 million. Another unsatisfactory performance is on the AIDC, achieving 6 of its 11 planned targets at 54%, with an expenditure of 89%. This shows a misalignment between the inputs and outputs, requiring a follow-up. On the other hand, some improvements are counted in some agencies, such as JEP, which is happy to note, attaining 12 out of the 19 targets at 63% and spending 94% of its budget. Further improvements on the GTA, realizing 84 out of 6 targets at 67%. Meanwhile, the expenditure is significantly low at a 49% level. Additionally, Cornhill, TIH and the GGB attained all planned targets at 100%. Disappointingly, however, challenges such as delayed infrastructure projects at the Constitutional Hill and Biopark Phase 3 at the Innovation Hub persists. Further limitations include constraints on the rand value of both foreign direct investments and domestic direct investments. The lack of progress on the SMME Partnership Fund possesses significant negative consequences for the SMME sector. And conversely, some developments exist on the City of Tshwane fleet contract and increases in the number of new companies recruited at Akasi Labs. Madam Speaker, I'm going to take the rest of the report as being read and move straight to the committee concerns and recommendations. In terms of concerns, with respect to the Gauteng Gambling Board, the committee is concerned by the lack of reporting on the vacancy relating to the CEO of GGB, and with respect to the departmental expenditure, the committee is concerned about the imbalance between the expenditure and the outputs. In terms of committee recommendations, the department should firstly submit a detailed report to the committee on the suspension and mutual separation agreement between the CEO of the Gauteng Gambling Board and its department, The report should provide the timeframes on the appointment of the new CEO. A written response should be provided to GPL on the resolution as adopted by the House, and this should be by the 31st of May this year. In addition to the report above, this is the second committee recommendation, the department should outline in detail the status of all boards and departmental entities. This report should include the number of times the boards convene, their terms of office and structure, noting that the chairperson of the GGB board is alleged to have acted as the CEO for the entity for a brief period. A written response must be forwarded to the GPL as per the resolution, also by the 31st of May. And lastly, in terms of recommendations, the department should submit a report to the committee outlining measures put in place to ensure that there is an alignment between plan targets and expenditure within agencies. In addition to this, the report should also outline the role of the Agency Oversight Subcommittee, or sub-program rather, in ensuring that all targets relating to entities are achieved. Also, written response must be forwarded to this House by the 31st of May 2020. In terms of acknowledgement, appreciation is expressed to all members of the committee, as well as the MEC in his department, as well as to the committee team that continuously provides us support to our committee and honourable members. In terms of adoption, after due consideration, the Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee unanimously adopted the Committee Oversight Report on the Gauteng Department of Economic Development Third Quarterly Performance Report for the 21-22 financial year. In terms of Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 164, the committee presents to this House and recommends the adoption of the Oversight Report on the third quarter performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hassan. Is there a seconder for the proposal of the adoption?
I rise to second, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kana. Seconds. I now put the question. All those who agree say yes. Yes. Those who do not agree, please say no. Thank you. The yes have it. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development for the 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honourable Hassan.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Same protocol as before. I apologize for sitting. I'm going to take the parts of the report I have not read as being read and cover the executive summary, concerns and recommendations. The committee noted that the department spent 234,509, or rather million actually, 234.5 million of the quarter appropriation, which is equivalent to 89.11% of the budget for the quarter. The administration program also spent 123.01% of the quarter budget. The Agriculture and Rural Development Program spent 64.5% of the quarter budget, and the Environmental Affairs Program spent an equivalent of 107.03% of the quarterly budget. The year-to-date effect of the budget utilization means that none of the three programs have utilized their budget levels to levels commensurate with this stage in the budget cycle, that is plus minus 3% of the quarter budget. While the Administration and Environmental Affairs Program exceeded their quarter budgets by 23% and 7% respectively, which was meant to make up for the underutilization over the preceding two quarters, the Agriculture and Rural Development Program continues to fall short of the straight-line expenditure graph for the quarter under review. The committee supposes that it is of the utmost importance for the department to take the portfolio committee into its confidence and map out a plan on how they will make up for the underutilization over the remaining last quarter of the current financial year, particularly with respect to the Agriculture and Rural Development Program, as well as to fill the committee in on the current commitments made, especially for Program 2, which will impact positively on expenditure levels once affected. The committee is concerned that the department continues to battle with delivering on targets related to infrastructure and capital-funded projects, and the committee notes with concern that the department has consistently been underperforming even before COVID-19 pandemic. The committee continues to encourage the department to ensure that the service delivery mandate is achieved. In terms of committee findings and concerns, number one, the department's continuous practice of creating a sense of dependency for smallholder farmers, as most of them continuously rely on the department for funding to sustain their agro businesses. Number 2, a lack of assisting smallholder farmers with accessibility to high-value markets in the agricultural supply chain. Number 3, a failure to produce long-term solutions to address the issue of sustainable food security in the province, which relates to our FIS topic for later. Number 4, lack of supplying production outputs on time, as there's always delays in the finalization of the tender processes, which result in subsistence producers not being supported timeously, as inputs are provided at a time that is out of sync with farming operations. 5.1, with respect to the land care, there's a failure to identify available land for rehabilitation and agricultural production and the implementation thereof. 5.2, a lack of assisting smallholder farmers to gain access to land for agriculture and agro-processing purposes. And number 6, a failure to implement projects that will create job opportunities around renewable energy sources as an alternative energy provider in the province, particularly on solar panels or solar power rather. In terms of committee recommendations, written responses should be forwarded to the GPL on the resolutions as adopted by this House on the 6th of May 2022. Number 1, the department to provide mechanisms in place on the exit strategy that will assist smallholder farmers with adequate support to help them operate sustainable agribusinesses after exiting governmental programs. The report should include number 1, part of that, if the structures developed, organizations and individuals trained or empowered by the program continue to function effectively. Subsection 2, if the relevant agricultural activities are continued in the same or modified format. Number 3, monitoring and evaluation of the committee programs after inception. There is a need for a strong monitoring and evaluation unit within GDAD. And lastly, if the program impact has been sustained or expanded or even improved at the end of the intervention. Committee recommendation 2, provide a comprehensive report on how smallholder farmers will be assisted with marketing skills to sustain their farming businesses. The report should include how the farmers will be assisted with cash flow management, banking skills, financial administration, record keeping, compliance basics, and proper business planning. Number 3, provide a comprehensive report or plan in place to address food security issues in the province, also including measures in place to assist community food gardens to be maintainable. Number 4, provide a comprehensive report on the mitigation actions that address the continuous delays in the supply of the production inputs to farmers. The report should include, firstly, the SCM processes utilized to appoint service providers that are consistent in supplying productions inputs timeously, where those production inputs are sourced, and timelines given to the service providers noting that inputs are in fact seasonal. Recommendation 5, provide the committee with a comprehensive report that includes a list of identified land for agricultural production, land to be rehabilitated, criteria to be used to assist smallholder farmers to gain access to land, and number 6, provide plans in place to create job opportunities on the renewable energy sources as an alternative energy source in the province. The plans should also include ways on how the department will ensure that there's a reduction on the over-reliance on coal, which is finite and environmentally unfriendly as a resource. In terms of acknowledgement, the Portfolio Committee wishes to thank the MEC and his team, as well as the honourable members who form a part of the Portfolio Committee and the committee support staff as well. I'll take that part of the report as read. In terms of adoption, in terms of Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 164, the Economic Development, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee presents the Oversight Report on the third quarter performance of the Department of Agriculture for the 21-22 financial year and recommends its adoption. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Thank you, Honourable Hassan. Do we have a seconder?
I second, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Member Kana. Seconds. And I'll put the question. All those who say yes to the adoption of the agenda, please say yes.
Yes. Yes,
Those who do not agree, please say no. Thank you. The yes have it. Yes, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee's Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development for the 2021-2022 financial year.
Honorable Makakula, sorry. You are the acting social development chair, so it got me confused with what you are supposed to present. Honorable Makakula? I found. Ban. Oh, again, yes. Because you read something else and it's not in line with what I expect Mam Togo to be reading. Please read it again. Economic development. Sorry. Honorable Hassan, it's supposed to be you. You are confusing me. Well, on the fourth order, you're supposed to. It's
Mr.
done.
Speaker, I've
Then,
provided the fourth.
okay. Mam Togo, you are on the. You are in line, Mam Togo. Colleagues, there is a problem here. It's fine. Honorable Mam Togo, please rise to read the report.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I, Honorable Thokozile Makakula, tabled the report on the Social Development Committee Oversight report to the House on the third quarter report of the Department of Social Development for 2021-22 financial year. Madam Deputy Speaker, please allow me that not to read all the paragraphs, and may the House take the paragraphs which I have not, may not read and take it as read. On the committee acknowledged that the department spent 36.48% of its budget for goods and services in the township. The view of the committee is that the department can achieve more than the reported 36% if it can intensify its efforts and reach out to more SMMEs in the townships. During the period under review, the department reported to have funded 75 residential facilities benefiting 5,575 older persons, while 19,075 older persons were also reached through services provided by the funded community-based care and support facilities. The committee noted that during the period under review, the department experienced delays in providing training to child and youth care workers due to the need to confirm the qualification level with relevant authorities. The committee will monitor progress in this regard in the fourth quarter. The committee has acknowledged that 190 community caregivers were trained on child and youth care work, gender-based violence, and basic first aid, while comprehensive package of essential services that include nutritional support, counseling, skills development, home and school visits, psychosocial support, medical support, food supplements were provided to 45,519 orphans and vulnerable children and youth. The committee further acknowledged with appreciation that during the period under review, the department has procured the provision of 102 electronic thermometers to protective workshops for persons with disabilities, while 7,268 work opportunities were created through expanded public works program. The committee concerns with respect to tender for school uniform and dignity packs. The committee is concerned with the suspension of the tender for school uniform and dignity packs and advised by Treasury. The suspension of the advertisement of these two tenders will disadvantage the vulnerable, especially the children who are benefiting from dignity packs and school uniform. With respect to 530 cooperatives were awarded short-term contracts, the committee is concerned with the process that was followed to appoint these cooperatives, as the department did not provide clear details. On recommendations, the committee recommend as follows: that the department should engage with Treasury in endeavor to find amicable solution and avoid non-delivery of school uniform and dignity packs to beneficiaries. The department should report to the committee by the 29th April 2022. Secondly, that the department should provide the detailed report on how the 530 cooperatives were appointed or procured. The information should include the following: physical address of each cooperative, the owners, and contact details. Number 2, office or offices that reach cooperative in servicing. Number 3, the type of contracts that has been awarded to each cooperative, and the number of times that each cooperative has been receiving short-term contracts from the department and the details of such contract. The department should report to the committee by the 29th April 2022. On acknowledgement, the committee would like to thank the MEC for Social Development, Honorable Murakane Musupye, the HOD during the consideration of the report, and other officials of the department. I would also like to express my appreciation to members of the committee, Member R. Kekana, Member R. Nsehe, Member A. Ndlovana, Member B. Bedenhoz, Member D. Litwaba, Member B. Engelbrecht, and Member M. Mufama for their commitment to the oversight process. I commend them for their diligence during deliberations on the third quarter report. The committee would also like to thank the officials that support the committee, Mr. S. Nwala, Z. Mpanzo Mbalo, H. Ngobeni, S. Nemweli, N. Jikolo, J. Muloi, L. Mantata, T. Nzuke, D. Ngwenya, N. Klebi, L. Mantata, K. Kulu, and M. Makwela for their dedication in assisting the committee to achieve its mandate. In adoption, after extensive deliberation, the Committee of Social Development adopted the third quarter performance report on the Department of Social Development for 2021-22 financial year in accordance with Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 164. The Social Development Portfolio Committee tables the report to the House for consideration and adoption, considering the concerns and the proposed recommendations made in the report. I thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Yes, Member.
Deputy Speaker, I rise to second the report.
Thank you. Those who agree with the adoption, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Those who do not agree with the adoption, please say no. The yes have it. Thank you. Secretary, please take us to the sixth order. Or just before that. Order 22 was not programmed for today, so it's therefore important that the motion without notice be read to include it in today's orders. Chief Whip, please.
No, this one. This one. Warigezal. I, Member M. Kumalo, ANC Chief Whip, hereby table the following motion in terms of Rule 121 and Rule 122 as follows. Noting that the Standing Committee for the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislations report on the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulation 2022 was not programmed for today's housing. Therefore, further noting that the Standing Committee for Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation report on the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulation 2022 is now ready for tabling. Therefore, request that the House resolve as follows: that the Standing Committee for Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation report on the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulation 2022 be included on the orders of the House sitting of the 24th March 2022. I so move. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is there a seconder?
Second me, my friend.
Honorable Kwebo seconds.
Second, Honorable Malema.
Oh,
I'll
Mbanel?
rise to second as well.
Okay, thank you. Let's right along. Secretary.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Oversight Committee on the Office of the Premier and the Legislature's Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Office of the Premier for the 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you, Honorable Acting Speaker, Honorable Members. I will ask that the parts of the report that have not read be taken as read. The Office of Premier recorded an achievement of 28 out of 29 targets, which is 97% of the planned annual performance plans for the quarter under review. This performance shows an upward trajectory from the 94% in the previous quarter and an improvement from 81% from the first quarter of the 2020-2022 financial year. The program performance reflected that Program 1 administration registered an achievement of all the 3 planned targets. Program 2 institutional development achieved 10 out of 11 planned targets, and Program 3 policy and governance recorded an achievement of all 16 planned targets. The financial performance in the implementation of the Office of the Premier delivery programs reflected that 122 million spending was incurred out of the 181 allocation, which is 68% of the quarterly budget. The expenditure per program reflected that Program 1 administration spent 41 million from the allocation of 34 million, which is 120% of the total budget, and an overspending of 6 million. This overspending was incurred under goods and services due to payments of the life asset mainly legal fees, which was not anticipated in the quarter under review. Program 2 institutional development spent 54 million out of the allocation of 63 million, which is 86% of the total budget. The underspending of goods and services was due to the system upgrade that reflected the processing of payments. Program 3 policy governance spent 27 million out of 83 million and recorded an underspending of 56 million, which is 32% of the budget allocation. This underspending was in relation to system upgrade and did not allow service providers to upload their invoices. The delayed transfers to GCRO and Chapter 1 million were expected to be processed in January 2022. Commendable achievements of the Office of the Premier Premier's preferential procurement spending is acknowledged in the quarter under review, with people with disability recording 6% as opposed to the target of 7%, youth at 23% against the target of 15%, women at 49% instead of the target at 40%, township enterprise at 30% as per the target of 100% payment of valid invoices within 21 days from date of receipt. However, procurement spending on black people was below the set target of 76% instead of 80%. Attention of this KIP is crucial to sustain business owned by this designated group. The committee notes that in the quarter under review, youth employment in the GPG was at 30% of the total staff complement. The GPG's initiative of targeting the employment of youth to address the aging force in the department is acknowledged. It is noted that the representation of women in the SMMEs in the GPG remained at 47% between October and November 2021. In addressing this challenge, the Office of the Premier highlighted that quarterly employment equity sessions were held. Furthermore, interventions that include monitoring, implementation, and employment equity plans and achievement of targets on the quarterly basis are in place to assist GPG departments to achieve 50% representation of women in the SMS. The committee notes that Chapter 1 million supported 81,087 young people on pathways to earning, reflecting 249% of the quarterly targets achieved on young people on their pathways to earning, with 64% young women benefiting from this program. In order to measure performance made in the quarter under review, the Office of the Premier should specify the target set out against the recorded achievement. It is further noted that the TSEPO 1 million enabled 7,226 young people to obtain employment, which is 131% of the quarterly target, with a 68% of young women receiving opportunities. It is crucial that the Office of the Premier in its reporting system reflect the set targets plan on all the KIPs against the achievements made for monitoring and evaluation purposes. The Office of the Premier reported that the VAL SZ has secured 42 billion in provisional investment, and the master plan team has been commissioned to finalize an enabling infrastructure plan for the VAL region. Institutional model for the SZs in Gauteng has been finalized, which provides for tripartite ownership and funded by all three spheres of government. It is further noted that the OR Tambo SZ expansion of current GDITZ is in the process of implementing the new facilities to accommodate investor pipeline of 7 billion rands. Western SZ will be formed with the backbone of land that is in the process of being donated by Sibanye Stillwater, and sectoral focus will be on hemp, agro-processing, bus manufacturing, and green energy. The committee is interested to know the percentage employment of designated groups, including historical disadvantaged groups, youth, women, people with disability, and military veterans in all the special economic zones projects in the province. The committee is concerned about the Office of the Premier's reporting on percentage achievements without providing the targets planned for the quarter under review on the KPIs that includes, amongst others, TSEPO 1 million program. Furthermore, the office has not highlighted the targets planned for the Pillar 4 of TSEPO 1 million, which is crucial for measuring performance levels of the sub-program in addressing youth unemployment in the province. The committee is concerned about the 5,544 service delivery intervention cases that remain unresolved, as well as the 22 cases that were cancelled in the quarter under review. The committee is concerned that the Office of the Premier in its reporting highlighted the development of first quarter report on the GPG department's compliance on hearing held within 60 days from the date of precautionary suspension, instead of specifying the total number of precautionary suspension cases against the number of hearing conducted. The committee has noted that out of the total of 485 life asset claims verified, 380 qualified to receive compensation, 332 claims were paid, and 15 claims under assessment to confirm rightful beneficiaries before payments could be made. However, the concern is that on the shortfall of the claims that were verified but not reported on as qualified and not qualified for payment. Based on the information set out therein above, as well as the committee concerns, the committee therefore recommends as follows. 1, that the Premier should provide the reasons for reporting on percentage achievements without providing the targets planned for the TSEPO 1 million program in the quarter under review. Further, provide clarity on the reasons for the non-specification of the 4 pillars of TSEPO 1 million in the Office of the Premier reporting, as well as the targeted blend for each pillar in the quarter under review. 2, explain reasons for the 5,544 service delivery intervention cases that remained unresolved, as well as the 22 cases that were cancelled and its impact on service delivery. 3, the Premier should, for detailed oversight execution, provide a report specifying the total number of precautionary suspension cases against the number of hearings conducted, instead of reporting about the development of 1 quarter report on the GPG department's compliance on hearings held within 60 days from the date of precautionary suspension. 5, provide a report on the committee on the decision taken relating to the shortfall of claims that were verified but not reported as qualified or not qualified for payment. The report is acknowledged in relation to the verification of 485 life asset claims, of which 380 qualified for compensation, while 332 were paid and underwent assessment to confirm rightful beneficiation before payments. The committee hereby thanks and acknowledges the cooperation of the Office of the Premier and the role played by the Gauteng Premier, Honorable Makura, the Acting DG, Mr. Masebe, and the officials. I also wish to thank the following members of the committee: Honorable Kumalo, Hassan, Makubela, Msimang, Mabala, Mukwebo, Adams, Alberts, for their diligence during this deliberation. Furthermore, I would like to thank the members of the committee support staff for their delegation and support. In accordance with Rule 164 of the Standings Rule of the GPG, the committee hereby present and report to the House for adoption. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Dlamini. Is there a seconder?
Yes, Chair, I rise to second.
Honorable Makubele?
Yes, Chair,
Okay.
I rise to second. Thank you.
Okay, those who are virtual must identify themselves, please, when they respond or they second or make inputs. Thanks, Honorable Makubele. All those who say yes to the adoption, please say yes. Those who do not agree, please say no.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, those who don't agree, please say no. The report is adopted. Thank you. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Oversight Committee on the Office of the Premier and the Legislature Oversight Report on the third quarterly performance report of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature for the 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Dlamini.
Yes, Speaker, I'm here. Am I audible, Acting Speaker?
Can we assist this table, colleagues?
The
Am I
table
audible?
have a wrong order paper because both
Well, on 8.
the ones that we have as members, the next person to present the report is Honorable Chilwane. And after Honorable Chilwane, it will be Honorable Mateke. So there is order number 8, order number 9, and order number 10, and that is Chilwane, Mateke, and Hassan. I can borrow them this one.
How many times have you presented? Honorable Dlamini, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here, Speaker.
How many times have you presented?
Once.
You've presented once.
Yes, only the office of
That
the
was
Premier.
order.
I'm now about to present.
That was order 6. But
Yes.
we're on order 8, according to my member show of chairs. Colleagues, honorable members, apologies. The problem is here. What I have is we're at 8, and these colleagues are saying we are somewhere behind. Because we're at Chilwane now. According to this, according to this, it's Chilwane. But we are speaking about Dlamini, colleagues.
Madam Speaker, Acting Speaker, there's a typo error there. They wrote Chilwane twice. It's a typo error. Just check and verify. It's a typo error from their side. Huh? Yeah.
They must not abuse.
Yeah, it's not just. I look like a clown when some of these things happen. Okay, it's fine. Member Dlamini, I think please take us to your second report. That's member what?
Thank you.
Sorry, that's order? Order number 7. It looks like it's a typo error. Instead of Dlamini, Chilwane was put twice there. So I look like a clown now, colleagues. You must get your things in order, man. It's the second time this thing is happening. Member Dlamini, apologies, honorable members. Member Dlamini, please take us to your second report. Then we'll be followed by Member Chilwane.
Our treasure must not be abused.
We're on order 7, colleagues. We're with Member Dlamini now.
Yeah,
Order 8, it will be Member Chilwane. In that order. Thank you. Who's speaking now when I'm speaking? Oh, it's you, Member Dlamini. Okay, please begin.
Thank you, Chair. I'm always abused the values of Paul. It's not new.
You are abused by me.
Not you, not you, not you.
Oh, okay, okay. Hey. All right, sorry for that moment. Please go ahead.
Times. The committee noted that the GPL has set a total of 19 performance targets for the third quarter 2021-22 financial year. Out of the 11 were achieved and 8 were not achieved. The performance target not achieved relates to percentage of implementation of leadership implementation plan, number of transversal mainstreaming capacity development sessions, number of initiatives undertaken to promote the ethical conduct seminar, percentage of House resolution responses considered by the committees, a number of motions adopted by the House, a number of petitions considered by the Legislature, number of people reached via digital social media platforms, and percentage achieved on comms and PPP 5-year strategy implementation plan. With respect to performance by strategic outcomes, strategic outcome 5, enhance compliance with relevant judiciary requirements and principles of good governance, accounted for 40%. Strategic outcome 1, enhance oversight and accountability towards service delivery, accounted for 26%. 11% was for both the strategic outcome 2, increase responses of laws to meet the needs of the people of Gauteng, and strategic outcome 3, enhance meaningful public participation, and strategic outcome 4, improve alignment and collaboration between organs of state, accounted for only 5%. With respect to performance strategic With respect to the filling of vacant posts, the committee noted that the issue is continuing in the quarter under review, taking into consideration that the budget underspending, under compensation of employees. The GPL reported that the delay is as a result of the organization embarking on a review of the organizational structure to assess fit for purpose, and this necessitated a decision to place a moratorium in the filling of vacancies, except critical ones that are essential for service delivery. Furthermore, the GPL stated that 6 positions, 5 senior management and 1 senior administrator, were filled during the quarter under review. For the quarter under review, the committee noted that the petition standing committee tabled and considered 20 petitions and 13 were adopted, while 1 was deferred pending finalization of further investigation, and the remaining 6 were rejected. With regards to the BBEE targets, the GPL is commended for recording overachievement of 73.6% for historic disadvantaged individuals against 60% plan targets. People with disability, it's at 2.2% against a target of 0.2. Youth achieved 22.24 against a target of 10, and township economy 55% achieved against the 10% target. However, the committee noted that the GPL recorded underachievement on the target for women at 22.82 against the 30% target during the quarter under review. The committee noted that there are various main strategic risks forecast by GPL since the beginning of the 6th legislature, and that there are measures in place to manage them, amongst others, the poor oversight by the legislature resulting in lack of accountability by the executive, inadequate support provided to members to enable effective oversight on the implementation of and impact of laws passed, lack of business continuity, poor records management, and ineffective public participation in legislature business. The committee will continuously monitor the risk identified on a quarterly basis. The committee noted that in terms of financial performance, the GPL received a total amount of 716.4 million for the 2021-2022 financial year and allocated 180 million for the quarter under review. The GPL recorded underspending of 28 million or 16% on leadership and government program has spent. 6.2 million or 67% underspending by 3 million or 33%. The Office of the Secretary has spent a total amount of 6.9 million or 98% underspending by 143,000 or 2%. Corporate services has spent 72.3 million or 87%, which translates to underspending of 10 million or 13%. Core business has spent an amount of 56.6 million or 83% underspending by 11.4 million or 17%. The Office of the CFO has spent a total amount of 10.7 million, which represents 79% and underspending of 2.8 million. The GPL expenditure is not in line with Treasury regulations, in indicates that the department and the GPL must spend 75% of their budgets in each quarter. There were no concerns raised during the consideration of the third quarterly performance report, but committee will continue monitoring the implementation of responses to recommendations and raised previously. There were no concerns raised during the consideration of the third quarterly report, but committee will continue monitoring the implementation of responses to recommendations raised previously. The committee hereby thanks and acknowledges the cooperation of the Speaker of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, Honorable Mehwe, the Provincial Secretary, Mr. Skosana, and their team. I would also like to thank members of the Portfolio Committee, as solicited previously, and the committee support staff for their diligence. In accordance with Rule 1.164 of the Standing Rules of the GPL, the committee hereby present the report to the House for adoption. I thank you, Acting Speaker.
Thanks, Honorable Dlamini. Is there a seconder? Member Hassan.
Thanks, Chair. Move to second.
Thank you. All those who agree with the adoption, please say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Those who do not agree, please say no. Okay, the yes have it. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Education Portfolio Committee of Focus Intervention Study Report on the assessment of the asbestos school in the province. Program number 6, Infrastructure Development. Thank you.
Honorable Chilwane.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Education Portfolio Committee identified an assessment of asbestos schools in the province, Program 6 Infrastructure Development, as its FIS topic. The purpose of the FIS was to assess the level of support provided to schools built with asbestos in the province and to get an understanding as to when will the Gauteng Department of Education replace these structures. The asbestos in school buildings is usually mixed with cement in the form of roof sheets and partitioning boards. The asbestos becomes a health risk if the sheets are damaged and the asbestos fibers are exposed. As such, the department has a task to replace schools that are entirely built from asbestos. Currently, according to the available data, there are 29 asbestos schools in the province that need to be replaced. The FIS also predetermined objectives as follows: to assess the conditions of existing asbestos schools in the province, get a first-hand experience of asbestos schools in the province, to investigate the challenge experienced by these schools, how they can be supported, provide recommendations in order to achieve the intended outcomes. The committee embarked on an unannounced oversight visit to the following schools: Swane High School, Pretoria Primary, Didao Primary School, Lukolweni Primary School, Paradise Bend Primary School. The committee noted concerns raised by these schools, such as infrastructure challenges that does not meet the requirements and all norms and standards of an ordinary school. The committee also found that most schools' quintiles is incorrectly classified. The overall challenges the committee found are as follows: schools such as Swane High School, surveys and assessments were done constantly by the department since 2009. A new building was promised, but nothing has been done to date. The school is hazardous with different animals roaming around. The department offers less resources, manpower due to the number of learners. The school has challenges with the ablution system. The schools reported that they have not yet returned to full classroom capacity due to shortages of classes and are still utilizing the rotational classroom method. The committee was concerned about the department identifying these challenges, making means to point the schools, building plans, and others were at an advanced stage, and the budget was approved. Furthermore, the committee observed that some schools also have challenges with regard to land ownership, as it's not clear who owns the land. Those schools are aware and have understanding about the effects of asbestos and health hazard thereof. The committee is of a view that they are not aware of how urgently this building should be removed, as they are being taken from pillar to post. Can the areas that I will not be reading be considered as red? I'll just go straight to recommendations, concerns. The committee is concerned with about the 3 makeshift brick and mortar classrooms in Pretoria Primary School. The committee is concerned about the ablution system in Swane High. The committee is concerned about the learner furniture, ablution facilities, and infrastructure at Paradise Bend Primary School. The committee is concerned that there were budgets approved, including building plans meant for the replacement of some schools, but these budgets were redirected to other projects. The committee observed that there are no reported health implications by principals and educators with regard to hazardousness of asbestos from school visitors, though they are aware of the negative impact in the long run. The committee, during the unannounced oversight, observed that there were no indications regarding land space or relocation of Paradise Bend Primary School, Pretoria Primary School, Kwenamulapo Secondary School. The committee observed during its roundtable session that some schools are not aware of progress regarding the eradication of asbestos structures in their respective schools. The committee observed the regulation of related to minimum uniform norms and standards for public school infrastructure, published on the 29th of November 2013 in Government Gazette number 37081. It advocates prioritizing of eradication of schools built entirely of harmful asbestos material. On recommendation, the committee recommends the department attend to the 3 brick and mortar classroom challenges in Pretoria Primary School. The committee recommends the department should also attend the ablution system in Tshwane High School. The committee recommends that the department provide an explanation about whether Paradise Bend Primary School will be relocated or the department intends to build on the current premises, and also the department to provide school with learner furniture upgrade the ablution facilities and the provision of additional mobile classroom. The committee requests the department to provide a report with respect to the budget that was allocated to replace asbestos school from 2017 to date by some schools visited. The committee recommends the department to provide progress report in respect of the identified land space for relocation of Paradise Bend Primary School, Pretoria Primary School, and Kwenamalapo Secondary School. The department to provide committee with a progress report regarding the study that was conducted by the National Health Institute in relation to asbestos schools and how the department is processing the recommendation thereof. The committee recommends that the department should provide an update to schools with regard to its plans to eradicate asbestos structure in their respective schools. The committee recommends that the department should, in consultation with Treasury, the National Department of Basic Education and relevant stakeholders, consider alternative funding models to address asbestos-related challenges. All these, the department should submit a progress report by the 29th of April 2022. The Portfolio Committee on Education wishes to thank the MEC of Education, Honorable Lusufi, and senior official for the presentation of the budget substantial and sustained efforts they have made to inform the Portfolio Committee on the details and information with regard to its focused intervention study on an assessment of asbestos schools in the Gauteng province. Further, the chair would like to thank Honorable Hassan, Honorable Makubela, Honorable Bisi Ramulife, Honorable Dos Santos, Honorable Mkwebo, Honorable Mazui, Honorable Deval, Alberts, and T.K. Adams for their dedication and support during this process. And further, the Portfolio Committee would like to thank the support team as outlined. In accordance to Rule 165, the Education Portfolio Committee Chairperson hereby recommends that the report on the Gauteng Department of Education FIS report be adopted by the House, taking into account committee concerns and proposed recommendation made in this report. Do
we have a seconder?
I rise to second.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Those who do not agree, those who agree with the adoption of the report, please say yes.
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 Those who do not agree, please say no. The yes have it. Thank you. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Sports, Sports, Recreation, Arts, Culture Portfolio Committee Focus Intervention Study Report on the investigation on whether COVID-19 Relief Fund provided a relief among the arts and culture, as well as the sports and recreation practitioners. An explanatory study of the Gauteng Relief Fund. Thank you.
Acting Speaker, I hereby table the focused intervention study. I must indicate, Acting Speaker, that the focused intervention study is emanating from the annual report for 2020-2021 financial year. The focused intervention study is on the investigation on whether the COVID-19 relief funding provided by the department was sufficient. I will then focus, Acting Speaker, on conclusion of the report, on consensus recommendations, acknowledgement, and adoption. Therefore, I request that the part of the report that I will not be reading be considered as read. In terms of the conclusion, the committee concluded that the support provided by the department through the Gauteng social relief funding was not sufficient and did not achieve the desired outcomes of providing relief to affected stakeholders. This is because less than half of the applicants were provided with support because of capacity and compliance issues. Bank confirmation not certified. In some instances, proof of residence was not attached to the application. The affidavit not explicit on the loss of income. The other issues reported was that some applicants were declined due to double dipping after receiving funding from the national department, and some of the applications were received from other provinces such as Limpopo and the Western Cape, who then tried to apply in Gauteng. Though the committee was not able to establish how much each beneficiary received, it was clear that the support received was not what it was intended to achieve. The committee is therefore of the view that the department should have dedicated resources, especially human resources, to assist applicants that qualified but lacked resources to submit all required documents to receive this much needed financial support. Furthermore, the committee noted that out of the 28 million allocated for the Gauteng Relief Fund, the department managed to spend 18,956,500, of which the Sports and Recreation Program spent 7,423,000, which was allocated to 1,098 sport practitioners, whereas the Cultural Affairs Program spent 11,914,200 with 1,801 beneficiaries. This shows an underspending of 9,042,500, which is highly unacceptable considering the huge impact COVID-19 had on the sport, arts and culture fields, which required the department to step up and assist its stakeholders immensely. On committee concerns, the committee's concerns with the following: an amount of 28 million was allocated for the Gauteng social relief funding. However, only 18,956,500 was spent. The department's failure to provide capacity support to qualifying beneficiaries, which led to qualifying beneficiaries being declined due to non-compliance. Poor communication channels, lack of transparency that led to the relationship breakdown between the department and its stakeholders, resulting in protest. I think some of these protests, we experienced them during our annual report processes. On proposed committee recommendations, we therefore recommend the following: conduct a COVID-19 Gauteng relief funding impact assessment study to ascertain the impact of the service provided to sectors affected by COVID-19. A report should be sent to the committee by the 31st of May 2022. Formalize the sports and recreation, arts and culture sector stakeholders to deal with their issues in formalized structures. A status report to be sent by 31st of May 2022. This also goes hand in glove to other outstanding bills that are before the National Assembly that needs to be formalized for the formalization of these sectors. On acknowledgement, Acting Speaker, I therefore want to acknowledge all honourable members for their due diligence. Further, I want to acknowledge MEC Hlope and the acting head of the department, Tatevuyan Mpofu, and all the senior officials of the department, as well as the Gauteng Film Commission for their dedication. I will further want to appreciate the staff of the Legislature for their support on adoption of the report in accordance with Rule 117, Rule 2C, read together with Rule 165. The Portfolio Committee on Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture recommends that the focused intervention study report on the investigation of whether the COVID-19 relief fund provided relief among the arts and culture as well as the sports and recreation practitioners, an exploratory study of the Gauteng Relief Fund to be adopted by the Visual House, considering committee concerns and proposed recommendations made in this report. Ke leboga go le magane, Deputy Speaker.
Ra leboga, Ntate Matseke. Do we have a seconder?
I rise to second, Acting Speaker. Thank you, Paul Malema.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. Those who agree with the adoption of the report, please say yes.
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 Those who do not agree, those who do not agree, please say no. The yes have it. Thank you. Report adopted. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee Focus Intervention Report on the State of Economic Infrastructure Project marked by delays with the specific reference to the Biopark Phase 3, Jewelry Manufacturing Precinct and Visitor Centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I'm going to take the parts of the report that I don't read as being read. The committee conducts oversight over the Department of Economic Development, herein referred to as the department and its entities. In conducting oversight, the committee utilizes a myriad of tools to achieve its objectives in ensuring that service delivery is rendered. In this instance, the committee undertook an FIS to assess the performance of JEP with respect to the completion project within the jewelry manufacturing precinct, the top structures project in the southern precinct as well at the OR Tambo International Airport Industrial Development Zone, and the Biopark Phase 3 project Bioscience Park, as well as the Constitutional Hill New Visitor Centre project. The committee noted that some projects within the department under the GGDDA remain incomplete since their inception in 2019 to date. This remains a concern for the committee. Further concern to the committee is that the delays caused by the department's inability are creating uncertainty towards major anchors such as De Beers at the Jewelry Manufacturing Precinct, and this is despite efforts made to assure them that the specified timeframes and commitments will be met. The payment of service providers who are scheduled to undertake work have not to this point is also a concern for the committee. The view of the committee is that they are public funds and should be utilized in a prudent manner to ensure that services are rendered and ensure that the required jobs are created through infrastructure projects. In terms of committee concerns, the committee is concerned about the inability of the department to conclude the construction of the JMP at the OR Tambo International Airport, the department's inability to take the necessary due diligence on service providers that are appointed to do work on behalf of the department, and number 3, the costs related to the Constitutional Hill and New Visitor Centre project, as no work has been undertaken since the appointment of a service provider in 2019. In terms of committee recommendations, all responses to recommendations highlighted below should be submitted by the 31st of May 2022, it should read, unless otherwise stated. And in light of this, the committee recommends that the department should, number 1, ensure that the construction of the JMP project is completed within the time frame that has been committed by the department, and that being the end of March 2023. Quarterly reports on the progress made in this regard should be submitted to the committee. The report should detail the measures taken to assure the anchor tenant De Beers and that the department will conclude the construction within the stipulated time frame. At all times, this is number 2, all necessary due diligence studies prior to appointing service providers to ensure that service providers that have been appointed, apologies, I'm just reading from a different version, I see it's not as grammatically correct. Committee recommendation number 2, at all times undertake all necessary due diligence studies prior to appointing service providers to ensure that service providers that have been appointed have a proven track record and are financially sound to deliver on their mandate and avert them from being liquidated before completing the necessary work. By the 31st of May 2022, the Department should provide the Committee with a detailed report on the process of appointing service providers and measures taken to ensure that they are financially sound and capable of delivering on their expectations. 2.1. In addition to this, the Department should also highlight to the Committee on whether the funds that were paid to liquidated partners who are implementing the Biopark Phase 3 project prior to their liquidation. A report on this should be submitted to the Committee on the measures put in place to retrieve the funds, and this includes other punitive measures that have been put in place. The report should also be submitted by the 31st of May of this year. Committee recommendation 3, highlight the implications of awarding a tender without the necessary work being undertaken from 2019 to date on the Constitutional Hill New Visitor Centre project. A report on this should be submitted to the Committee by the 31st of May. The details to be contained in the report should outline the remedial actions taken, the cost associated with the awarding of this tender from 2019 to date, and included should also be whether consequence management has been applied for non-delivery within this project, noting that this is tantamount to wasteful expenditure as the tender was awarded for 167 million rand. In terms of acknowledgement, appreciation is expressed to all members of the committee, to MEC Tau and the officials in his department, as well as the actual committee team support staff as well. After due consideration, the Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee unanimously adopted the FIS report themed The State of Economic Infrastructure Projects Mired by Delays, with specific reference to the Biopark Phase 3, Jewelry Manufacturing Precinct and the Visitor Centre. In terms of Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 165, the committee presents to this House and recommends the adoption of the committee's Oversight FIS theme report as mentioned above. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Hassan. Is there a seconder?
I rise to second the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Those who agree with the adoption of this report, please say yes.
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 Those who do not agree, please say no. Okay, report adopted. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee Focus Intervention Study Report on the provision of economic relief amid the COVID-19 pandemic, unraveling the intricacies of the 250 million Gauteng SMMEs Partnership Fund. Thank you.
Acting Chairperson, Member Hassan.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'll take the reports that are not read as being read. The committee conducts oversight over the department and its entities, and in conducting this oversight, the committee utilizes a myriad of tools to achieve its objectives in ensuring service delivery is rendered. In this instance, the committee undertook an FIS to assess the performance of CHEP with respect to the disbursement of the 250 million COVID-19 relief fund. Through its year in monitoring, the committee noted that the GEP has not disbursed the COVID-19 relief fund to ailing businesses that needed the intervention to save some of them. Upon this study, the committee observed the red tape faced by businesses in accessing funds from CHEP, which indicates that the funding model by the entity should be revised to give more funds to SMMEs. The partnerships formed between CHEP and municipalities should be strengthened to support more businesses and create more opportunities for the expansion of their respective lines of work. The committee notes that businesses should be supported fully, not only on certain aspects of the business, but this would also ensure that businesses remain sustainable and not continue being incubated for lengthy periods of time. The committee, in its oversight process, will continue raising questions on the expenditure of the 250 million intended in assisting businesses that were hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic and those intending to rebuild post the hard lockdown period. It is of concern to the committee that such a huge budget allocated for a relief fund, that CHEP has only disbursed 12,000 rand to the businesses that were visited by the committee, and this was said to be in response to the pandemic. In terms of committee concerns, Number one, the lack of electricity connections in the hub as it hampers business operations. Number two, the committee noted that the mentoring and incubation process of businesses undertaken by JEP is ineffective. Number three, the red tape encountered by businesses in accessing funds from JEP to enable growth for their businesses, including the COVID-19 relief funds and other funding models that the entity offers. In terms of committee recommendations, all responses to recommendations highlighted below should be submitted by the 31st of May 2022 unless stated otherwise. And in light of this, the committee recommends firstly that the department or JEP should, working in conjunction with the Rand West municipality and the department, they should ensure that the electricity supply is restored in the hub to enhance the work of the businesses that are operating there. A report on this should be submitted by the 31st of May of this year. 1.2 or 1.1 rather, over and above the restoration of the electricity, the department should also ensure that the hub is properly maintained, noting the fact that the committee raised concerns on the lack of maintenance of the hub. Such maintenance should also be carried out by the 31st of May. The department or JEP should also revise its monitoring and incubation program in such a manner that it allows growth for entrepreneurs to be independent and sustainable. A detailed report on the feasibility study on the revision of the incubation and mentoring programs within JEP should be submitted to the committee by the 31st of May. And number three, the department or JEP should remodel its funding processes to enable businesses to seek finance without encountering red tape and allow for the ease of accessing all available funds that JEP offers. This process of remodeling its funding methods should be intertwined with the reconfiguration process, and thus a report on this should be submitted by the 31st of May 2022. In terms of acknowledgements, appreciation is expressed to all members of the committee for their commitment, as well as MEC Tau and the officials of the departments, as well as the committee support team. In terms of adoption, after due consideration, the Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee unanimously adopted the FIS report themed Provision of Economic Relief Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic, Unraveling the Intricacies of the 250 million Gauteng SMME Partnership Fund. In terms of Rule 1172C, read together with Rule 165, the committee presents to this House and recommends the adoption of the Committee Oversight FIS report themed as stated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Is there a seconder?
I rise to second, Deputy Speaker.
Thanks, Member Kana. Those who agree with the adoption of the report, please say yes.
Yes, yes.
Those who do not agree, please, those who do not agree, please say no. Thank you. The yes have it. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Portfolio Committee focus intervention study report on the commercialization of black smallholder farmer in the Gauteng province. Thank you.
Honourable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I just want to confirm I have the correct FIS because there's so many documents we're presenting today. All right, I've got the one on commercialization of black smallholder farmers. Thank you. Deputy Speaker, I'm going to take parts of the report as being read. The committee embarked on a focused intervention study focusing on the commercialization of black smallholder farmers in the Gauteng province. Following the pronouncement made by the State President at the 2017 State of the Nation address that the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development would launch a commercialization program of 450 farmers across the country. The department initiated the program at a provincial level and began to work towards commercializing 50 farmers. This was preceded in the 2016-2017 financial year by the development of a draft commercialization strategy, which focused on the following commodities: livestock, including poultry and piggery, horticulture, grains, and aquaculture. The GDAD then evaluated the database of all smallholder farmers in the province and developed a preliminary list of 50 commercial farmers that would be considered for commercialization subject to the meeting of the set criteria. The commercialization strategy aims at increasing the number of farmers operating at a large commercial scale by improving the performance of selected value chains and productive partnerships. through increased access to production infrastructure, inputs, finance, markets, training, and strengthened business development support to farmers and agro-entrepreneurs. The program further aims to support black smallholder farmers to be large-scale category players in the mainstream of the agriculture economy of Gauteng. The program requires supporting farmers with infrastructure, production inputs, market access, and associated logistics. The department has staggered the commercialization of the newly revised number of 68 farmers over the course of several financial years, but has not indicated when the target is to be attained. It is important for the department to further communicate how the farmers that have been commercialized to date have fared. In terms of committee findings, the committee undertook the oversight engagement, noting reports and all other engagements with the department during the in-year monitoring process. The intention of the committee was to measure the inputs against the outcomes that the department had reported on. In terms of concerns, number one, failure to implement the exit strategy for most smallholder farmers. Two, farmers struggle to take part in modern agricultural value chains in the province and country as a whole. Number three, minimum scale to upgrade smallholder farmers to commercial farmers. Number four, failure to propose methods to improve the knowledge and awareness of EIA regulations among farmers and extension staff by creating a better understanding regarding the EIA process. In terms of committee recommendations, the reports should be submitted to the committee by the 6th of May 2022. The Portfolio Committee recommends the following: provide the committee with a comprehensive report that will address our concerns. The detailed report should include, number one, a status report on how beneficiaries of government projects are graduated appropriately after a period of their incubation, and also providing them with assistance to maintain and sustain their agribusinesses without relying on government support and funding for survival. The report should include 1.1 mechanisms in place on the exit strategy that will assist smallholder farmers with adequate support to help them operate sustainable agribusinesses after exiting governmental programs. The report should include 1.2, if the structures are developed, or rather if the structures developed, organizations and individuals trained or empowered by the program continue to function effectively. 1.3, monitoring evaluations of the programs after inception. 1.4, if the relevant agricultural activities are continued in the same or modified format. 1.5, if the program impact has been sustained, expanded, or improved at the end of the intervention. Committee recommendation number 2, plans in place to assist commercial farmers to take part in modern agricultural value chains. Plans to upgrade succeeding smallholder farmers to become commercial farmers. Number 4, propose methods to improve the knowledge and awareness of the EIA regulations and compliance thereof. Number 5, provide the committee with a comprehensive report that will assist smallholder farmers to gain access to land. In terms of acknowledgements, the Portfolio Committee wishes to thank the MEC and his team, as well as honourable members, and this includes thanking the committee support staff. In terms of adoption, after due consideration, the Portfolio Committee unanimously adopted the FIS report themed the commercialization of black smallholder farmers in the Gauteng province. In terms of Rule 1172C, read together with Rule 165, the committee presents to this House and recommends the adoption of the committee's Oversight FIS report themed above. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
I rise to second.
Thank you,
It's too
Member.
much.
Thank you, Member Kana. Those who agree with the adoption of this report say yes. Those who do not agree say no.
Yes.
Thank you. The yes have it. Secretary, please take us to the next order.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee Focus Intervention Study Report on the contribution of homestead food gardens towards food security in the province. Thank you.
Honourable Hassan.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. This is the last one we're going to be going through. No, nothing's happening, Deputy Speaker. Thank you. The executive summary of the FIS of food security. The committee embarked on a focused intervention study focusing on the contribution of homestead food gardens towards food security in the province. The Bill of Rights claims that everybody has the right to sufficient food and water, and it further emphasizes that the state must formulate responsible legislative efforts and take other measures within its available resources to achieve the progressive realization of these rights. The right to sufficient food in South Africa is enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa in 1996. In 2011, the Gauteng Food Summit identified the need for a provincial plan to coordinate and guide food security interventions beyond the Gauteng Integrated Food Security Strategy and Food for All rollout plan. In responding to that, the department embarked on various programs to address the broad food security problem in the province, which includes the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program, Ilima Litsima, and the Gauteng Mechanization Program, which is aimed at protecting the resource base and increasing productivity. The department is furthermore involved in specific food security projects that include community food production units, homestead food garden projects, as well as school food garden projects. The Homestead Food Gardens project was initiated in 2004 and aims at assisting communities to establish food gardens in the backyards of their home in order to produce food mainly for home consumption. The homesteads are supported with technical advice, training and production inputs such as gardening tools, seeds, compost, watering cans and fertilizers. It is the view of the committee that some of the proposed food security strategies acknowledge the importance of interdepartmental collaboration and alignment, but does not provide clarity on how this can be achieved. This lack of alignment contributes to food security initiatives that overemphasize increasing agricultural production. It is also the view of the committee that there's a need for greater understanding of the difficulties of food security at the national and provincial levels so that appropriate on-the-ground projects can be developed. Moreover, significant social, health and economic effects of food insecurity and more financial resources are needed. In terms of committee findings, the committee undertook the oversight engagement, noting reports and all other engagements that the department during the in-year monitoring process. The intention of the committee was to measure the inputs against the outcomes that the department had reported on. The projects initiated by the department were in respect of sustainable environmental management. In terms of committee concerns, number one, the unavailability of land to be used for production purposes. Number two, a lack of capacity to sustain and maintain food security programs that have already been implemented in the Department for Food Security and Poverty Alleviation. Number three, a lack of proposing more solutions on the contribution of homestead food gardens towards food security. Number four, less effort on creation of awareness on the importance of learners' involvement in garden activities. Committee recommendations, all reports should be submitted to the committee by the 6th of May, 2022. The Portfolio Committee recommends the following. Provide the committee with a comprehensive report that will address the committee's concerns. The detailed report should include, number one, status report on the measures in place to avail land to be used for production purposes. Number two, plans taken to ensure that existing food security programs are maintained and sustained. Number three, maintained and sustainable rather. Number three, innovations and techniques that will assist and support the poorest households, support farmers' livelihoods, and most importantly, increase food security. Number four, awareness campaigns that will educate communities and learners on the importance of the involvement in garden activities. As a general recommendation, the department is to provide a report on collaborations in place with the Department of Education to support more schools in the province with food gardens. The report should also give plans and proposals in place on how schools should consider including agricultural education as a subject at school to teach students about agriculture, food, and natural resources. In terms of acknowledgements, the Portfolio Committee wishes to thank the MEC and his team, as well as all the honourable members who are members of the committee and the committee support staff. In terms of adoption, after due consideration, the Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee unanimously adopted the FIS report themed Contribution of Homestead Food Gardens Towards Food Security in the Province. In terms of Rule 1172C, read together with Rule 165, the committee presents to this House and recommends the adoption of the committee's Oversight FIS report themed above. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I rise to second, Deputy Speaker.
I rise to second, Madam Speaker.
Is that Member Makubele?
Madam Deputy Speaker, it's Honorable Makubela Wolele.
Okay.
I rise to second.
All right, thank you. Those who agree with the adoption of this report, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who do not agree, please say no. Okay, the ayes have it. The next order, please, Secretary.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Social Development Portfolio Committee Focus Intervention Study Report on arising from the budget vote for 2021-2022 financial year, an investigation into the impact of municipal bylaws on the operation of the NPOs and how the department perform monitoring and evaluation function. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Makakula.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. May the House take the part of the reports which I may not read as read.
Apologies, Honorable Member, before I forget. Somebody forgot their keys to their Mitsubishi or their Apollo. Oh, okay. They're yours. Okay. We'll get it from. Sorry, Ma'am Togo. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Acting Speaker, the House should take the other part of the report as read, which I may not read. I, Honorable Thokozile Makakula, the Acting Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development, hereby tables the Committee's Focus Intervention Study Report on Budget Vote 6 of the Department of Social Development for 2021-22 financial year as follows. On the executive summary, the committee has observed a declining number of funded NPOs, which was mainly due to non-compliance to funding requirements. In most instances, these were also affected by the municipal bylaws, which issues out environmental certificates to NPOs. Most of the NPOs are found to be non-compliant according to municipal bylaws. The committee also noted issues such as rezoning fees, title deeds, health certificates, approval of building plans, which were some of the areas where the affected NPOs were lacking as such, resulting in non-compliance. The department, on the other hand, has reported to have been in consultation with municipalities on these issues. However, resolving to proceed in signing of service level agreements with affected NPOs in terms of Section 7, 8, and 9 of Children's Act, read in conjunction with Constitution, which knows the rights of children being regarded as paramount. One of the concerns that the committee has raised is that in as much as municipalities have their role to play in ensuring that NPOs comply, there are certain elements such as title deeds, which municipalities also have a role to play to ensure that those entitled must have them. Also, the rezoning fee, it's more than what the NPOs can afford, must be reviewed and come up with amicable solutions. Furthermore, the committee noted with concern that at this point, the department is mostly reliant on NPOs to provide services to communities. Should such issues not be resolved, NPOs are likely to operate outside the boundaries of guiding legislation. The committee observed that every financial year, majority of NPOs were funded on condonation, and municipal bylaws were reported to be one of the reasons for such. On the committee concerns, the committee is concerned as follows. Zoning and rezoning are costly and unaffordable for NPOs, including ECDs. 2, lack of alignment between the municipal processes and requirements and those of the Department of Social Development. 3, existing ECDs are operating in RDP houses and unproclaimed land are not issued with health permits. 4, delays in issuing of health permits or certificates for home-based ECDs. On the proposed recommendations, the committee recommends as follows. The department should engage the municipalities where there are affected ECDs with a view to possibly review the rezoning fees in an event that the fees are more than what the affected NPOs or ECDs can afford. The report should be submitted by the 31st of May 2022. The department should engage with all relevant stakeholders and consider aligning processes and requirements that are discouraging the ECDs from registering. The committee is of the view that the alignment of these processes would enable ECDs to move towards registration faster, and this would be cost-effective. The report should be submitted by the 31st May 2022. The department should engage with other stakeholders that are part of the Intergovernmental Relations Forum with a view to come up with amicable solutions about existing ECDs that are operating in RDP houses and unproclaimed land. The report should be submitted by the 31st of May 2022. The department should continue engaging with all relevant stakeholders in endeavor to resolve issues that related to health certificates, occupancy certificates, emergency plans, and other related matters. The committee is cognizant of the fact that most of these matters are the competencies of the municipalities and believe that continuous engagements can yield positive outcomes. The progress report should be submitted by the 31st May of 2022. In acknowledgements, the Portfolio Committee on Social Developments wishes to thank the Gauteng Department of Social Development, led by MEC Murakane Musupwe, City and City of Tshwane municipalities, City of Johannesburg Metropolitan municipalities, non-complying ECDs, Greater Benoni Child Welfare, Gauteng Welfare and Development Services, Mfuleni ECD Forum, ECD practitioners from different regions operating a companion, and all the committee stakeholders from all the Gauteng regions for availing themselves and participating in the webinar and providing valuable information. I would also like to express my appreciation to members of the committee, Member Aaron Kekana, Member Aaron Sehe, Member A. Ndlovana, Member B. Engelbrach, Member B. Badenhost, Member M. Mufama, and Member D. Lidwaba for their commitment to the oversight process. I commend them for their diligence during deliberations on the Focus Intervention Study report. The committee would also like to thank officials that support the committee, Mr. S. Nwala, Ms. Z. Mpanzwa Mbalo, Ms. S. Nweli, Ms. N. Jigolo, Ms. L. Mantata, Mr. James Loy, Ms. T. Nzuke, Ms. D. Ngwenya, Ms. N. Ntlebe, and Mr. K. Kulu and H. Ngobeni for their dedication in assisting the committee to achieve its mandate. In adoption, the Portfolio Committee on Social Development anonymously adopted the FIS report on Gauteng Development of Social Development emanating from the Budget Vote 6 for 2021-22 financial year. In accordance with Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rule 165, the committee hereby recommends that this report be adopted by the House, taking into account concerns and proposed recommendations made in this report. I thank you, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Do we have a seconder?
Deputy Speaker, I rise to second the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Nteke. Do we have sorry. Those who agree with the adoption of the report say aye.
Aye.
Those who do not agree with the adoption say no. Thank you. The ayes have it. Secretary, please take us to the next order, 15th order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Oversight Committee on the Office of the Premier and the Legislature Focus Intervention Study Report on the petition system of the Gauteng Legislature. Thank you.
Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs and honorable members. The committee identified the petition systems of Gauteng Legislature as its focus intervention study topic. The purpose of the FIA was to assess the challenges that the GPL is currently faced with in dealing with the petitions, and more specifically, bottlenecks that are contributing to the current petitions backlog, how these are being addressed, staffing within the petitions unit, as well as opportunities the GPL has identified as a way of improving the petition system moving forward. Since the beginning of the political term, the committee has noted with concern the backlog as far as the process of petitions. It is against this background that the proposed FIS aims to assess the Gauteng Legislature's petition system. Through the FIS, the committee will assess the challenges faced by the system in addressing petitions and thus dealing with the backlog. Additionally, the FIS will focus on unraveling the opportunities that are available within the petition system. The committee noted that the petitions process is multifaceted, and it has numerous dependencies and interrelations with external stakeholders. Therefore, the finalization and closure of petitions are not solely within the control of the committee, as the variables which lead to the closure of petitions are dependent on authorities responding to petitions. The committee further noted that there are challenges of petitioners blocking the system by submitting a single petition at different points, which leads to duplication. It is further noted that there is no system in the GPL to differentiate between new, recent, old, and outstanding petitions. Instead, all petitions are entered into a single repository, thereby providing an inaccurate and unduly bloated backlog figure. Another contributing factor to the petitions backlog is that authorities tend to send senior juniors with no decision-making powers to the petitions committee hearings. Petitions hearings forms part of the committee's escalation process, and it aims to fast-track the resolution of petitions. When junior officials are then sent to represent authorities, they first have to consult with their institutions, which further delays the resolution process. At times, petitions may be in the form of a request or demand that have budgetary implications or fall outside the ambit or mandate of the committee, and it's deemed ineligibility. In terms of staffing in the public participation and petitions unit, the GPL reported that while the reasons for backlog may partly be due to human capacity challenges, the reasons are much wider due to the complexity, nature, dependency, and interrelatedness of the overall petitions process. The committee noted the following: that all petitions are entered into a single repository, thereby providing an inaccurate and unduly bloated backlog figure and system to differentiate petitions based on when and where they are received. That the petition standing committee and the PPP has initiated the process of clustering petitions so that they can be easily referred to departments for responses and be addressed in a coordinated manner, opposed to an ad hoc basis. The GPL indicated that there should be a partnership with the Office of the Premier to synergize their system so that when a petitioner submits a petition, it is submitted to a central portal, which will then route it appropriately. The Petitions Act should be reviewed to allow that after a petition has been addressed and resolved, it can be declared closed and removed from the system by the committee, thereby unclogging the system. The committee therefore recommends that a report on the mechanism system to ensure differentiation of petitions based on when and where they are received, a report on the process of clustering petitions so that they can be easily referred to departments for responses, A report on synergizing the GPL system with the Office of the Premier so that when a petitioner submits a petition, it is submitted to a central portal, which will then route it appropriately. A report on when will the Petition Act be relooked to allow that after a petition has been addressed by the committee and resolved, it can be declared closed and removed from the system. The committee wishes to thank the Honourable Speaker and senior officials in the legislature, and also like to thank members of the Portfolio Committee and the support staff for their diligence during this process. In accordance with Rule 165, the Chairperson of OPPOL hereby recommends that the report on the AFIS Committee report be adopted by the House, taking into account committee findings and recommendations proposed and recommendation made in this report. Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any seconder?
I rise to second the report, Madam Chair of Chairs.
I rise to second.
Adams.
Thank you very much, members. Thank you very much, honourable members. I now put the question. All those in favour say yes.
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 All those not in favour say no. The yes.
Especially on the petition.
The yes have it. The report is adopted. Secretary, please read the next order.
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs. Consideration of Economic Development, Agriculture, Rural Environment Affairs Portfolio Committee report on the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill G003 of 2021. Thank you.
Should I use that one or this one? Okay. 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 Thank you very much. The Speaker, after consultation with the leader of government business, has determined that the Gauteng Township Economic Bill should be considered by the House today in line with Rule 204(1). The House will consider the version A and B of the bill as they contain committee proposed amendments. Already the Secretary have read the next order, but I'll actually repeat again. Will the Secretary please read the 16th order?
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs. Consideration of Economic Development, Agriculture, Rural and Environmental Affairs Portfolio Committee report on the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill G003 of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Acting Chairperson, Member Hassan. Please deliver the committee report.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. Due to the historic nature of the bill, I'm going to also stand for this one, as opposed to the others. Chair of Chairs, as the Acting Chairperson of the Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee, I table the committee report on the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill as follows. The Honourable Speaker formally referred the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill to the Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee for consideration and reporting. The bill seeks to provide for the promotion and development of the township economy and to create a conducive environment for the attainment of that purpose, to provide for licensing of township-based enterprises, to provide for the management of a fund through the Gauteng Township Economic Development Fund, to provide for principles to be adopted by municipalities in drafting and adopting bylaws, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. In terms of the background, I'm going to take that as read. Chair of Chairs, in terms of the process followed, the Honourable Speaker informally referred the bill to the Portfolio Committee for planning on the 19th of May 2021. The Gauteng Township Economy Bill was then published in the Government Gazette, notice number 497, on Thursday, the 17th of June 2021. The MEC for Economic Development, Honourable Parks Tau, then introduced the bill at the Gauteng Provincial Legislature on Tuesday, 14 September 2021. Subsequent to that, the Honourable Speaker formally referred the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill to the Portfolio Committee for consideration and reporting on the 14th of September 2021. On Tuesday, 9 November 2021, the committee received presentations from the committee researchers on the analysis related to the potential socio-economic impact emanating from the bill. In addition to that, the NCOP and the legal unit presented the legal opinion on the bill, taking the committee through clause by clause. Subsequent, on the 15th and 29th of November, the department made a detailed presentation to the committee on the bill, and then notices for the particular public hearings on the Gauteng Township Economy Bill were advertised in the following newspapers, particularly community-based newspapers: the Sowetan, the City Press, the Daily Sun, Beeld, Soweto Urban Diepkloof, Randfontein Herald, Germiston City News, Alex News, and Ster South. The Economic Development Portfolio Committee undertook public hearings, extensively so, of the bill in the 5 regions of the province, namely the Johannesburg Metro Municipality at the Brixton Community Hall in Brixton on Saturday, 4 December 2021, and again on the 25th of January 2022 at the Dlamini Multipurpose Centre in Soweto. At the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipality in Ivory Park North Hall, in Ivory Park on the 27th of Jan 2022. At the Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality in the Eersterus Civic Centre in Eersterus on the 7th of February 2022. We covered West Rand District Municipality at the IEC Hall in Randfontein on the 1st of Feb, and again at the Kagiso Community Hall on the 23rd of Feb. We also went to the Sidibeng District Municipality, going to the Vereniging City Civic Theatre on the 16th of February 2022. On the Thursday, 10th of March 2022, it must read, the Portfolio Committee deliberated on the first draft of the Oversight report dealing with the bill. In terms of public participation, Chairs, members of the public were invited to make written inputs and comments when the bill was published in the Provincial Gazette last year. The committee further held public hearings in all 5 regions of the province mentioned above, and this also included 2 stakeholder sessions focusing on municipalities, the retail sector, the taxi industry, and they were all represented by various organizations. The committee targeted to obtain inputs from various sectors of communities. Inputs received in summary, amongst those, relate to the illegal occupation of business spaces by foreign nationals and the role of municipalities in the implementation of this act in the bill, upon the bill being assented. Furthermore, the public and the stakeholders were concerned on whether the bill would be able to cut the red tape for SMMEs in doing business in the township. In addition, stakeholders also made inputs related to the functioning and composition of the board as proposed in the bill. However, stakeholders in the main welcomed the bill, noting the intention thereof and supported in revitalizing the township economy. In the public hearings and stakeholder engagements convened by the committee, the following stakeholders were amongst them who made verbal and written submissions, and I'll cover a high level. The South African Economic Rights Institute for South Africa, Lawyers for Human Rights, the Association of Black Securities and Investment Professionals, the Banking Association of South Africa, Black Business Council, Be Merry Foods and Enterprises, the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, Lesedi Progress Chamber of Business Forums, NPC, the Progressive Blacks in Information and Communication Technology, Imvubu Holdings, GG Alcock, the African Patriotic People's Assembly, Mogale City Local Municipality, the National Black Business Caucus, the South African Small and Medium Enterprise Corporation, the South African Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, the South African United Business Confederation and the South African Local Government Association, and the West Rand Ministers' Constituency. And this is to indicate just how far wide our consultations went. In terms of the constitution and legal implications, the committee received legal opinion from the NCOP and the Legal Services Unit, which highlighted areas in the bill that needed amendment to be consistent with the Constitution and Legislative Drafting Convention, and the committee embraced these issues that were raised. In terms of the socio-economic impact, the committee is of the view that the bill will have positive social and economic impact because of the following. The bill is considered, according to some stakeholders in its initial form, to not be well drafted. It was questioned whether it had an alignment with the Constitution. However, it commended that it was possessing encouraging elements on which to build on, more so because of the development of township economy being crucial to the development of the country's economy. The bill aimed at benefiting the economy through the facilitation and promotion of inclusive economic growth, which can be achieved, amongst others, through the provision of an efficient regulatory framework meant to ensure that people living in townships are able to establish viable and thriving businesses. The success of township businesses will have a potentially positive effect on poverty reduction, and the employment creation as much needed job opportunities will receive a significant boost from the implementation of this bill. Some of the planned beneficial activities in the bill include monitoring the efficiency and performance of township-based enterprises. This possesses positive spin-offs for the township businesses, including positive outcomes such as increased productivity and sustainability. However, capacity constraints need to be adequately addressed, since we have identified such as a huge hindrance during the various engagements between the Portfolio Committee and broader Gauteng communities. It's also important to note it will cut many a red tape for township-based enterprises. It will also allow us to undo spatial apartheid planning through economic opportunity, but most importantly, it will provide opportunities for those who are the most marginalized and those who have been forgotten and been left out of the economy. In terms of financial implications, of course, there will be. It will be related to the Gauteng Township Development Fund, which will be housed within the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, which we'll get into in a moment. In terms of the committee position, the Gauteng Economic Development, Environmental, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee supports the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill with amendments. In terms of acknowledgements, we'd like to thank the MEC and his team, honourable members who were both a part of the Committee of Economic Development and CSSL. We would also like to thank members who were part of the support staff, who spent many a sleepless night getting us to a point in which we can have a progressive piece of legislation that can change the lives of our people. In terms of adoption, Chair of Chairs, after due consideration, the Portfolio Committee has adopted the committee's report on the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill, and in terms of Rule 117, subsection 2C, read together with Rules 163, subsections 1, 2, and 3, as well as Rules 164, the committee presents to this House and recommends the adoption of the committee's report of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill. I thank you.
Is there a seconder?
Rise to
second.
The whole House is rising to second, Madam Acting Speaker.
I rise to second, Chair.
Ghana.
Okay.
Ghana is not your bill.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honourable Ghana and Honourable Makubela. I now put a question. All those in favour say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favour say no. The yes have it. Siyabonga. Secretary, please read the next order.
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs. Consideration of the Committee for the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation report on the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill G003 of 2021 as it relates to regulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary. May I then call upon Honourable Adams to deliver the committee report?
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs. Allow me to follow on where Honourable Hassan left off. May I humbly request that the parts of the report I will not read be considered as read, because there's a fusion and a dovetailing of the reports from myself and Honourable Hassan. The Chairperson of the Committee on the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation, CSSL, Honourable DK Adams, tables the committee's report on the empowering provision that grants power to make regulations on Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill 2020 as follows. Introduction. On the 15th of September 2021, the member of the Executive Council responsible for economic development, environment, agriculture and rural development in the Gauteng province, Honourable P. Tau, tabled the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. The Standing Committee on Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation, in collaboration with the Portfolio Committee on Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development, considered the principle of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill and deliberated on the merits and the demerits of the bill. The CSSL, Honourable Chair of Chairs, focused on Clause 40 of the bill, which empowers the MEC for economic development to make regulations on any of the matters that require to be prescribed to enable the implementation of the proposed legislation. The MEC is further empowered to make regulations on any other matter which may be necessary or expedient to be prescribed in order to achieve the objectives of the proposed legislation. The bill seeks to provide for the promotion and development of the township economy and to create a conducive environment for the attainment of that purpose, to provide for licensing of township-based enterprises, to provide for management of the fund through the Gauteng Township Economic Development Fund, to provide for principles to be adopted by municipalities in drafting and adopting bylaws, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Two process followed. I think I will not dwell much on that because it has been covered. The Joint Committee undertook public hearings on the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill in the 5 regions of the provinces. That also has been covered by Honorable Hassan in the report that she delivered, so let me not repeat that. Number 3, details of the enabling provision of the bill. The committee noted that Section 40 of the bill provides that the responsible member of the Executive Council within 6 months from the date of commencement of this Act must make regulations. 1, prescribing any matter which in terms of this Act is required or permitted to be prescribed. 2, appointment of board members. 3, designation procedure for townships. C, CIC funding application procedure. And D, may generally make regulations regarding any matter which may be necessary or expedient to prescribe in order to achieve the objectives of this Act. Let me deal with the socio-economic analysis on the enabling provision. The committee advised the department that regulations to be drafted, finalized, and submitted to the CSSL within 6 months from the date of commencement of this Act. Furthermore, that the regulations should be as detailed as possible so as to avoid any ambiguity and confusion of which enterprises and organizations are eligible to be funded. In determining such a criteria, the department should consider the dire state of the township economy and the high levels of unemployment in townships. The committee highlighted that the renumbering under Section 40 should be corrected as alphabet C is repeated twice. 5, legal implications of the bill. The committee, through the prism of this constitutional and legislative matrix, analyzed Clause 40 and concluded the following must be amended. Section A and D be deleted to be in line with the drafting principles. Numbering be corrected. The responsible member within 6 months, I have read that already, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Number 6, committee position. The committee notes that during the public hearing proceedings, there were no comments raised which relates to regulations. The committee hereby recommended that Section 40 of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill 2020 be adopted with the following amendments. The responsible member must, within 6 months of commencement of this Act, make regulations on 1, appointment of the boards, designation procedure for townships, and funding application procedures. Recommendations. The committee further recommends that when making regulations in the future, the department should ensure that they be as detailed as possible to avoid any ambiguity and confusion which enterprises and organizations are eligible to be funded. Consider the dire state of the township economy. Number 2, and high levels of unemployment in the townships. 3, eliminate elements of quick money-making schemes that will seek to derail the good intentions of this bill. And lastly, ensure the vast majority of eligible people in townships should benefit from the introduction of this bill. Acknowledgements. Special thanks are due to the following honorable members: M.A. Sirota, M.S. Shackleton, K.C. Mazwi, D. Magagula, D.P. Malema, and A.N. Tlovana. The committee would further like to thank the following support staff for their dedication: Group Committee Coordinator M. Vas, Committee Coordinator C. Sinoka, Committee Administrator L. Lamola, Senior Researcher N. Lamini, Manager Committee Researcher S. Butalezi, Manager Proceedings R. Chilon, Principal Table Assistant K. Jositebe, Manager NCOP Legal S. Nube, Legal Advisor L. Madau, Senior Information Officer N. Klebi, Communications Officer T. Mashifane, Hansard Recorder S. Baloy, and Service Officer B. Kima. for adoption, Honorable Chair of Chairs, in accordance with Rules 163, 164, and 201 of the Standing Rules of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, the CSSL Committee adopted the report on the Gauteng Township Development Economic Bill 2020. Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Adams. Is there a seconder?
I rise to second Honorable Acting Speaker Paul Malema.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malema. I now put the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say
yes.
no. The yes have it. Thank you very much. The report is adopted. We then need to move to the 18th order. Secretary, please read the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Economic Development, Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development Portfolio Committee report on the principle of Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill G003 of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now call upon the acting chairperson, Member Hassan, to present the principle of the Gauteng Township Bill G003 2021 A and B.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. In terms of the principle and the objects of the bill, the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill seeks to firstly provide a regulatory framework which makes it possible for people living in townships to establish viable and thriving businesses, enterprises, small enterprise organizations and cooperatives where they live. It will introduce an enabling environment to ensure that retail malls and supermarkets that are township-based partner with local township-based enterprises, including the sourcing of some of the products and services from local township-based producers, service providers, and manufacturers. Further, it will establish specific procurement rules and programmatic support that allows government and its main contractors to firstly buy from a large group or groups of township-based enterprises with systems linking them so that they can supply as if they were one large enterprise, or two, to compel enterprises that obtain government contracts to spend a certain percentage of their procurement spend on township-based enterprises or entrepreneurs and cooperatives. It will also provide an enabling environment for municipalities to firstly develop taxi ranks into micro-central business districts and to support the taxi economy to use its scale to grow, supporting value chains and industries. Number two, it will support the development and promotion of a township-based real estate development model to convert areas with high commercial densities into township high streets. And lastly, it will promote and support the development of representative associations of township-based enterprises and non-profit organizations. Thank you.
Honorable Hassan, again, I think we need a seconder for this one. Any seconder? Babalegi. May I check from those that you have joined through virtual?
Okay.
Any seconder?
I rise to second Acting Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Malema.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malema. Are you the member of this committee, Honorable Malema? CSSL, okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Malema. All those who support the bill, who support the report, please say yes. 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 All those not in favor say no. Thank you very much. Secretary, please read the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Consideration of the detail of each clause by clause of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill, G003 of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I need to explain the process. Okay. No, thank you very much. We now have to consider the bill, and during the consideration of the detail of the bill, only the detail of the bill may be discussed, and each clause of the bill and any amendment proposed to them will be open for consideration. In terms of the above rule, the process of deliberation of the detail of the bill requires that each clause may be discussed. Rule 213 indicates as follows: the question on each clause must be put and determined in the same order in which the clauses were considered. However, as the presiding officer, I may decide that the question on a particular clause must stand over pending the decision on any other question or until all clauses have been considered. The implementation of Rule 213 in brackets 2 and Rule 214 will proceed as follows. I will put each clause up for consideration of the House. After I have called the clause, the chairperson of the committee will indicate the following: whether the clause has been amended or not. If not, what the clause entails. If it has been amended, what the amendments to the clause are. Thereafter, the chairperson can then sit. Or, as the presiding officer can indicate to the chairperson that the chairperson could opt for the consideration of the clauses without the presiding officer having to call each clause. The presiding officer calls on the acting chairperson, Member Hassan, to present the portion of the committee report on the detail of the bill. Member Hassan.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. I would like to propose that we go through, especially because this is Order 18, that I present on all the clauses first, and then in Order 19, we go through each clause to vote in order to save time.
Let me check the body language of the leaders of different political parties. Thank you very much. You can continue.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. The following are the details of the bill, clause by clause. The amendment of the long title of the bill. This section provides for the long title that was adopted with amendments. The preamble. This section, I think maybe, Madam Chair, it's important for me to note that all members have the updated version of the bill in their emails and have received it, so they can follow with us as we go along clause by clause, just to ensure that honourable members are with us. So as I indicated, there is an amendment of the long title of the bill, which is actually on the front cover, the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill. The preamble was adopted with amendments. High level, some of those amendments included acknowledgement of previously disadvantaged people. It acknowledged our history of apartheid, of injustice, and really put the context of why this bill is important, particularly covering elements of apartheid spatial planning and using this particular bill to economically redress the injustices of the past. Clause 1, Chair of Chairs, we will go through, is the section that provides for definitions used in our bill. This has been adopted with amendments. Just of special mention to ensure that we're all on the same page, we have adopted particular municipality definitions as per the various acts, and SPLUMA as well. We have also put forward what we call the township economy, which we have defined as such in the bill. We felt it important as the committee on both sides, including the department, to define what a township economy is, to ensure that there's full implementation. Of important notice is Township Enterprise Zone, which is the game changer of this bill. Basically, it talks to the geographically designated and controlled area set aside for targeted economic intervention. It also allows for provincial government to designate township enterprise zones, either in larger areas or in precincts or even in certain streets. So I wanted to bring honourable members' attention to the township enterprise zones. We also had many a discussion on the issue of township, and we have ensured that the definition of township goes according to SPLUMA and the various different acts and the Constitution, so we are not in violation of Schedule 5 of the Constitution, allowing for separate powers of the municipalities as well. But we do also define a township-based enterprise. In terms of Clause 2, this was quite clear. The section provides for the guiding principles and has been adopted as introduced in the bill. No need to mention that, we've gone through it. Clause 3 deals with the objects of the bill, which was adopted with amendments, but nothing major there to note. Clause 4 speaks for the application of the Act and was adopted as introduced. Clause 5 provides for the non-degradation form and conflict with other laws and was adopted as introduced. Very standard. We now move to Clause 6, which is the designation of township enterprise zones, which I spoke to a moment ago. This deals with the specificities of how those township enterprise zones can be determined. It's important to note that it will not be determined subjectively. There are objectifiable indicators that will be used to ensure fairness, but also to ensure that we are consistent across the province in how we designate those. I spoke of different areas as well, and remember, this will also be in consultation with a number of different stakeholders. So we will be taking municipalities on the journey with us. Nobody will be left behind. So Clause 6 is adopted with amendments. Clause 7 takes us to the licensing of township-based enterprises. This was also adopted with amendments and led to a big discussion in the committee, so it is a moment of emphasis. We have agreed that certain organs of state or entities that are allowed to give licenses must, within a period of 6 months, indicate how they will be adopting protocols to support this bill. So we've introduced timelines in the legislation to ensure speedy implementation, but also to ensure that we provide the necessary support. In terms of Clause 8, this provides for the display of licenses. It was adopted as introduced, also stock standard here. We now move to Clause 9, which is the clause that provides for the policies and programs by the responsible member. It was adopted as introduced as well. That takes us to Clause 10, which deals with the plans and strategies by provincial organs of state. This was also adopted as introduced. Clause 11 provides for financial assistance. This was adopted with amendments, and I think it's just important to bring attention to this clause. We were very clear in the definitions and understanding of the intention of this bill to support South African citizens in the township economy for financial assistance. That deals with Clause 11. We are now on Clause 12, which provides for the development of infrastructure and was adopted as introduced. Clause 13, Chair of Chairs, is around the industrial and commercial estates. It was adopted with amendments. Of importance is that we included land in this particular amendment to ensure that we're not just providing premises, buildings, etc. We also specifically now have the legislative power to provide land to our people in townships for economic opportunity. On Clause 14, provides for the letting of buildings and premises. That was adopted as introduced. Clause 15 refers to the capacity building programs and was adopted as introduced. Remember, it's not just about financial assistance, it's about building the capacity of township-based SMMEs. We are now on Clause 16, Chair of Chairs. It provides for the development of markets and provision of marketing services. This was also adopted as introduced. Clause 17 refers to the technology transfer or acquisition and was adopted as introduced. Whenever I say that, members can refer to the Act, or rather the bill as it is, and they can go through it there in front of them. We now come to Clause 18, which I'll spend a little bit of time over the next few clauses. They are important. This section provides for the establishment of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Fund, and the section was adopted with amendments. Now, very importantly, I'm going to work with Clause 18 and 19 together as they're fundamentally linked. Also, Clause 19 provides for the purpose of the fund. It's important to note that as the Portfolio Committee, we found that there was no need to create a separate entity. We will not be creating a separate entity through this bill. Rather, we're going to use the capacity within the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller to ensure that, number one, we can hit the ground running. No need to create a new board, no need to create a new structure, no need for wasteful expenditure. But more importantly, we can now regulate to ring-fence that money. So the money that goes through specifically for this fund is going to be administered through JEP, but will be ring-fenced. So it can't be used for other matters. It can only be used for what we've said in this particular bill. So that's what speaks to 18 and 19. Also of importance to honourable members, this particular bill will cause us to amend the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller Act. So we will have to amend that act to make reference to what we've got here. So this is a heads up for the upcoming months that we will present another amendment of the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller. So that covers clauses 18 and 19, which were adopted with amendments, as I've spoken to it. We now move to clause 20, which is around the actual funds. It has also been adopted with amendments. It was felt by the committee that we must legislate to ensure that money specifically is set aside in every financial year, specifically for the support of the township economy and specifically for the support of the means of this bill. And members can go through that as well. In terms of clause 21, it's the management of the fund. As I mentioned earlier, JEP will be the custodian, so to speak, of this particular fund. So clause 20 was adopted with amendments, as I've said. We're now on clause 22 of 21, which deals with the management. Same story, adopted with amendments. We now move to clause 22, which is around accessing the fund, which is also adopted with amendments. And we were very clear to include the wording grant funding. So it's not just going to be loans, we also have the ability to provide grant funding that doesn't necessarily have to be paid back. So we have options in how we create and how we support with this fund. Clause 23, this now refers to municipalities. The section provides for the application of the Act to municipalities within the province. It was adopted with amendments. I'm going to speak to a bit of detail in just a second. That was clause 23. Yes, we're now on clause 24. Clause 24 deals with the Township Economic Development Bylaws and was adopted with amendments. Of specific focus is, you'll note we have a time frame here. Within 1 year of the date of the commencement of this Act, municipalities must pass the bylaws that substantially conform to the matters provided for in Schedule 1. Where municipalities do not have that capacity, we've allowed for the Department of Cooperative Governance to assist and provide for those bylaws. So we felt as a committee we must have a timeline, otherwise this bill will never be implemented. So we very clearly included within 1 year, and members can go through that in detail as they wish. We are now on clause 25, dealing with the regulations. This was adopted with amendments. You'll also note, again, 6 months of the commencement of this Act, regulations must be made. Of course, 6 months is the latest deadline. We encourage the Department and the Executive to implement sooner rather than later. We now move to clause 26, Chair of Chairs, which deals with the guidelines, and we have adopted that with amendments. This is dealing with the MEC of Finance and how it's going to be rendered. Clause 27 speaks to the collaboration amongst organs of state. It was also adopted with amendments. This is also very important about how we work with each other. And clause 29 deals with the short title and commencement, which was adopted with amendments. And that deals also there with the full name. We refer to the Act, as well as the different dates of the different sections that the Act could come into operation. And then, of course, we've got Schedule 1 at the end of that, which we've referred to, speaking to the bylaws, and we've also got some amendments that are included with it. But, Chair of Chairs, that is a high-level version of a clause-by-clause explanation of the Act, of the bill, rather. Thank you, Chair of Chairs.
Thank you very much, Honourable. Thank you very much, Honourable Acting Chairperson. I'm informed or advised that there is a correction that I'm going to allow Member Ghana to make that correction.
Thanks very much, Chair of Chairs. So in terms of Rule 209 of the standing rules, obviously one understands that there was a bit of pressure from the proceedings unit in terms of getting this bill sent and then printed and so forth. So there are a number of maybe two big issues that needs to be resolved. One relates to the long title, insofar as it references the township enterprise fund vis-a-vis the township enterprise zones fund. That also relates, Chair of Chairs, to clause 18. So the two needs to be consistent, because we cannot refer to one fund in the long title of the bill, and then when we go to the meat or the essence of the bill itself, we refer to another fund. So there needs to be consistency, so the people that needs to make the amendments before it's certified, we must be talking about one fund and not three funds, because as things stand now, in the bill that was just circulated, so the pre-certification bill, it refers to the Township Enterprise Zones Fund in the long title, and then in the subheading of clause, or in the heading of clause 18, it refers to the old Gauteng Township Development Fund, but then the detail, which is clause 18, refers to the Township Enterprise Fund. So there are three funds that are being mentioned at this present moment. So I'll ask the proceedings before the bill is sent for certification. Let's double check, triple check, and make sure that the fund that we're talking about is the same fund, and there is consistency across the bill. But we do not have on our side, other than that particular issue, having worked through this bill for the number of months that we have worked through, made the amendments that we have made. We do not have any problem in supporting the bill, now that we are not creating a new entity, now that we have expanded the definition of a township to include other areas that are currently economically deprived, but were not in the past designated for the black, colored, or Indian people. So we have worked well as members of the committee in coming to a consensus in this bill. So our plea is that there be consistency in reference to the fund, so that there's no confusion, or we come back, the Premier says that, no, I'm not going to assent to the bill because we are talking about several things. So that's my request, and I hope the acting chairperson will second my amendment to ensure that there is consistency. One, as I sit down, in the long title of the bill, and secondly, the heading preceding clause 18 and the detail of clause 18 as it relates to the fund, Chair of Chairs. Thanks very much. I hope that the acting chair will second my amendment. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Hassan.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs. I rise in terms of Rule 209, the consideration of the detail. I'd like to just emphasize two matters. The first is the matter that Member Ghana has raised around the long title, as well as cross-referencing to the name of the fund, was discussed in detail in the committee, and in fact was agreed to as per Member Ghana's contribution. I think it was just maybe an oversight of the Proceedings Committee. So to be clear, the long title, that's just before the preamble, must speak to the, okay, it says management of the fund, that's fine, but in clause 18, I think there was just a confusion. The Township Enterprise Zone is different to the Township Enterprise Fund. So it's just a matter of the removing of the word zone where it comes to fund. So throughout the bill, it must be Township Enterprise Fund, which is different to the Township Enterprise Zone. And we are happy to speak offline about it, but we can confirm that that was in fact already agreed to in the committee and has already been assented to both by CSSL and the Economic Development Portfolio Committee, and we can second that alteration or amendment in this House. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are supposed to second what?
I second.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Hassan. We now move to the next order, if it's okay with the House. May I?
Sorry, Chair. Rising in terms of Rule 209, I proposed, she seconded. The House must agree to that before we go to the next one. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. All those in agreement say yes. Yes. All those not in agreement say no.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The yes have it. Thank you very much. We now move to the next order, which is order number 20, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable.
Order 20.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Decision on each clause of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill, G003 of 2021.
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of Rule 213, in brackets 1, the question on each clause of a bill must be put and determined in the same order in which the clauses were considered. I will put a question on each clause, and members are required to voice a yes or no in response to my questions. I will now start with calling all orders. In terms of clause 1, all those in agreement say yes. All those not in agreement say no.
Yes.
Yes.
The yes have it. Clause 2, all those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. Clause 3, all those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. I now put the question on clause 4. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no.
Economic for a lifetime, yes.
The yes have it. I now put the question on clause 5. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 6. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And all those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And now put the question on clause 7. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And all those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And now put the question on clause 8. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. Ezra, Honorable Litwan. Akud.
I was saying yes, Chair.
I now put the question on clause 9. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. I now put the question on clause 10. All those in favor say no. You say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. I now put the question on clause 11. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say no.
Yes.
The yes have it. I now put the question on clause 12. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 13. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 14. All those in favor say yes. And all those not in favor say no.
Yes.
The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 15. All those in favor say yes. And all those not in favor should say no. The yes have it. I put a question on clause 16. All those in agreement say yes. All those not in agreement say no.
Yes.
The yes have it.
Yes.
And I'll put the question on clause 17. All those in favor say yes.
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 All those not in favor say no.
Yes.
The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 18. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no.
Yes.
Yes have it.
Yes.
And I'll put the question on clause 19. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 20. All those in favor say yes. And all those not in favor say no.
Yes.
The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 21. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 22. All those in favor say yes. And all those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 23. All those in favor say yes. And all those not in favor say yes. No. Can I repeat that? Sorry. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 24. All those in favor say yes.
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 All those not in favor say no. The yes have it.
No.
And I'll put the question on clause 25. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 26. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 27. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. The yes have it. And I'll put the question on clause 28. All those in favor say yes. All those not in favor say no. And I'll put the question on clause 29. All those in favor say yes.
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 All those not in favor say no. The yes have it.
Forward with economic transformation. Forward.
Secretary, please read the next order, which is Order 21.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Motion in terms of Rule 117, subsection 2A, read with Rule 205 and Rule 215 on the adoption of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill, G003 of 2021.
Okay, Honorable MEC Tau, please present the motion.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. Just to precede the motion with a statement that coincidentally the Premier has designated me to participate in a debate at the National Council of Provinces this afternoon on the implementation of broad-based Black economic empowerment policies and the Act in South Africa. And I indeed will be proud to represent this legislature in indicating our adoption of this historic bill which will be the Township Economic Development Act. Coming to the motion, Honorable Chair of Chairs, I, the member of the Executive Council for Economic Development, Agriculture, Environment and Rural Development, Honorable Parks Tau, table the following motion in terms of Rule 1172A, read with Rule 205 for the adoption of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill, that this House adopts the Gauteng Economic Development Bill G003-2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tau. I now call for a seconder for the motion of the adoption of the Gauteng Township Economic Development Bill G003-2021.
Madam Chair of Chairs, Honorable Makubela, I rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makubela. I now put the question on the adoption of the bill as read out by the acting chairperson. All those in favor? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All those not in favor say no. Thank you very much. I'll call for a roll call. If there is no objections, then we move. Honorable Kana berekile ha kholo kana wa sa shapi matsogo wa ba sa shapele matsogo soli Okay, thank you very much. We'll
Banana or Warikis.
So this is the decision again. Okay. The yes have it. We now have the Gauteng Township Economic Bill G003-2021 being adopted in Gauteng. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Should the Secretary read the next order, Order 22?
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Standing Committee for the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislations report on the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022 in terms of Section 4, Subsection 9B of the Gauteng Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation Act Number 5 of 2008 as amended.
Okay. Honorable Adams, please read the report.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs. Congratulations to the Gauteng Legislature on the adoption. The Chairperson of the Committee on the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation, CSSL, Honorable D.K. Adams, hereby tables the committee report on the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022 as follows. Introduction. The member of the Executive Council responsible for roads transport in the Gauteng province, Honorable Palama Jacob Mamabolo, the MEC, as in terms of Section 25 of the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Act 1997, Act Number 10 of 1997, made the regulations as set out in the schedule. The committee noted and appreciated that the Gauteng Department of Roads and Transport tabled the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022 as required by Section 140, subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1966. Gauteng Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation Act 5 of 2008 as amended and Rule 238 subsection 1 on the standing rules of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. The process that was followed, I will take that as read, Honourable Chair of Chairs. 3, the proposed amendments to the regulations. The proposed amendments to the regulations are in relation to Schedule 2 of the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022 for the motor vehicle registration and license fees. The socio-economic impact, cost and benefits, I'll take high level on this one, Honourable Chair of Chairs. The law requires that every motor vehicle that is operated in South Africa roads must be licensed unless such vehicle is exempted from licensing. The Gauteng Road Traffic Regulation annual adjustments are crucial in order to raise the fiscus of the Gauteng provincial government. This will allow the GPG to deliver quality service to the citizens of Gauteng. The department tabled a formal request for approval to implement amendments to the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Regulations 2021 on the 1st of April 2022 due to, amongst others, the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the citizens of the province. This was prompted by the public comments that were received and considered. Such a request was approved by the CSSL after careful deliberations. The CSSL further recommended that the department must draft new regulations of the 2022 financial year and follow the process as entailed in the Gauteng Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation Act of 2008 as amended. Moreover, the department should outline the public participation processes that were undertaken and outline whether comments from the public were taken into account when finalizing the draft regulations. Although these proposed amendments won't severely affect the public, full justification for a slightly higher than inflation increase should be provided to the committee. After careful consideration, Honourable Chair of Chairs, the committee is advised to welcome the regulations as proposed. On the legal opinion, the NCOP and legal unit advised the committee on the scrutiny of subordinate legislation on the constitutional and legal implications of the draft Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022 in terms of Section 25, subsection 1G and H of the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Act 10 of 1997. The committee noted that the draft Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022 have no substantial matters that have been introduced in the proposed regulations, save for the adjustment of the current fees and tariff structure. The proposed increase was an average of 7%. It was further noted there were no potential violations of the Constitution and enabling legislation in respect of the proposed amendment regulations found. The considered view was that the regulations pass constitutional muster and are further in compliance with all relevant legislative prescripts. Our committee position, Honourable Chair of Chairs, the committee approved the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulation 2022 in terms of Section 140(4) of the Constitution and Section 9B of the Gauteng Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation Act 5, 2008 as amended. Acknowledgement. We acknowledge, as I said in the previous reports, all the members of the committee and all the support staff for their dedication and hard work and deliberations. After due consideration, the Committee on the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation, CSSL, adopted the report on the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022. In terms of Section 9B of the Gauteng Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation Act number 5 of 2008 as amended, the CSSL committee recommends the approval and tabling of the Gauteng Provincial Road Traffic Amendment Regulations 2022. I thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs.
Thank you very much, Honourable Adams. Is there any seconder?
Honourable Malema, I rise to second acting Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Malema. And I put a question. All those in favour say yes. Yes. All those not in favour say no.
Yes.
The yes have it. That concludes the business of the day. The next meeting of the House will be tomorrow, the 25th of March, at 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for attending. Siabo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night, all.
Bye, everyone. Cheers. Ghana the man.
Bye-bye. Bye.